Good morning and welcome to our 79th weekly webcast. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way the call works is it's 3 hours long, and this is an AMA, meaning you can ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, personal questions, etc. And I answer the questions in the order in which I receive them. So if I miss your question, please just ask it again. Or more importantly, if I don't answer your question correctly, put me on the spot because I want to humbly help you if I possibly can. So our first question here is from Vishal. Vishal is saying, how do you cope with depression when we are in a lose or broke situation? Also, explain important self-worth or self-respect comments. Okay. Would you like to write a biography on your life? If yes, just do it. Okay. A couple of questions there. So the question is, how do you cope with depression? Yeah, that's a tough one for me to answer. So what I would say is the most important thing is to go see a doctor, your GP, and ask your doctor about that. So that's the first thing I would say. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give medical advice. A second thing I would advise, it's really hot in here, so I gotta change the AC. Second thing I would advise is to exercise every single day. Because this is how I cope with when I feel sad. I go to the gym and it releases endorphins and serotonin, which keeps me happier and much more productive as well. Quite often you'll find that the most successful people in life are the ones that find time to exercise. You know what I'm talking about. If you want something to get done, give it to a busy person. So stay busy. Exercise if you can, because it's a wonderful way to, again, release endorphins. And for me, if I don't exercise, then I don't feel like my perfect self. I don't feel happy enough. But I would say that. And I would also tell yourself that the past doesn't equal the future, or even the present. You know, don't try to control that which you can't control. Stuff that's already happened. Just put it in the past. And I remember years ago, I had a couple of terrible things happen to me, career-wise. And I did not understand why. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I don't get it. I made the company a lot of money. I think I'm a good guy, whatever. And my dad said, Chris, you should read the book of Job, which is in the Old Testament. And ironically enough, J-O-B is job. And so I read that. It's about this guy who a lot of bad stuff happened to him, and he kind of questioned his faith. And then years later, he understood why it happened. And he was actually not too upset that it happened, so to speak. And for me personally, I think if you have a positive attitude, you can accomplish anything. And you got to see crisis as an opportunity, always. Because most people, when they see a crisis in life, they freak out and they get really emotional. And Dale Carnegie once said that you have to understand that in business, quite often people are creatures of emotion and not creatures of logic. So you got to stay level-headed. You got to have a positive attitude about everything. When you see a perceived crisis in business or from a career perspective, tell yourself this is an opportunity and capitalize on it. And years later, from a career perspective, you look back and you'll tell yourself, thank God that happened in hindsight. Thank God, you might say, I was fired because I wasn't passionate about that job anyway, and that forced me to do something I'm more passionate about. And so many very successful people have been fired. Madonna, she was fired from working at Dunkin' Donuts. Robert Redford, the great actor, and I'm so sad he did his last movie recently. He's done, he said. But Robert Redford used to work for an oil company. Jay-Z, he couldn't get a recording contract. And he failed over and over and over again trying to get one. So what he did was he actually started his own label, which is amazing. And in hindsight, I'm sure he's glad that he looked back and he was frustrated and couldn't get anybody to sign him up. So the bottom line is that with crisis comes opportunity if you look at it the right way. And I'll end this question with something personal with me. Whenever I get really stressed out at work or frustrated career-wise, I tell myself one thing that keeps me going, which is this. God already knows what's going to happen, and that should set you at ease. All right. Next question is, according to what matter, the most knowledge degree from a reputable college or, okay, and I'll summarize this. Let me read it first. Okay. Yeah, so you're asking what's the net worth of my company, MHS. So my company, that's actually not a real brand. That was in one of the courses you saw of mine, Morgan Haroun Sachs. It's a pretend company that I have in my complete financial analyst course on Udemy. I just made it up. So there's no net worth of that company. It's a company with a not so long and not so rich history since 2017 when I released that course on Udemy, but thanks for asking. And then you're asking, what is the S&P 500? So the S&P 500 is a collection of 500 stocks that represents the U.S. economy or U.S. stock markets. And it's created by a company called Standard & Poor's, hence S&P. And what you can do is, if you want and you don't want to buy individual stocks, you can buy the S&P index. And the way to do that is, and please do your own research first, but you type in SPY, and that's, people call it the spiders. And this basically means a stock, so to speak, that you can buy with the ticker SPY that represents 500 companies that represent the U.S. economy. And those companies, I'll show you a little bit more about them. Let's go to the profile here. So actually, we've got holdings. I think it should be here. Hold on a second. It's tough doing these live calls. All right, so within the S&P 500, you have all these sectors here. And so the largest sector of the economy for the United States as of now is technology, which is 21% of the economy and 21%, I should say, of the S&P 500. The second largest segment is healthcare, or financial services, then healthcare, then telecommunications. And the top 10 holdings are as follows: Microsoft, Apple, Amazon. And the first non-tech company here is number 5, which is Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's mutual fund, so to speak. And then you've got the Google holding company here, a couple of financial services companies, JP Morgan, Visa, and then Johnson & Johnson. And so there's also ETFs, or exchange traded funds, for different countries. So if I did EWC, this is Canada, which is my home country, where I'm from. So this is a very natural resource-rich economy, Canada, just like Australia and Brazil. And so if you buy the EWC ticker after you do your research, you'll see that the biggest components are banks and commodity-related companies, okay, and one real estate company here. But for the most part, it's commodity-related companies and banks. And you can see here that you've got the biggest percent is financial services. And in Canada, you've got 5 or 6 big regulated banks. And so they comprise a very large percent of the index here. And here's energy, industrials, commodities, etc. You can also do it for other countries. So if we went to Brazil, EWZ, or EWZ as you say in Canada, and Brazil is also a very natural resources rich economy and financial services focused as well. So right here we can see this here is a very large mining company. This is Petrobras, Petroleum Brazil, etc. So the bottom line is, whenever you hear somebody say the S&P 500, they're talking about an index of 500 stocks that represents the U.S. stock markets. And every now and then it gets rebalanced, or they take companies out of that and put new ones in, which causes certain stocks in that index to go up or down as portfolio managers and exchange-traded fund investors try to rebalance their portfolios to match the S&P 500. Okay. Next up, Vishal is saying, do you read newspapers? I don't really, I used to, but I'd say if you're looking at investing, I would be really careful of the media. I try to focus more so on articles that tell you how the world works. Like, for example, why are bond yields going up or down, or why are interest rates changing, or why are commodity prices changing? Don't read articles that are called sponsored stories or ads, because I don't want you to get biased into buying a certain stock or thinking a certain way. I always want you to do your own research. Always, always, always. Yeah. Nobody's smarter than you. And for homework, please go to YouTube and do a search for this. Steve Jobs, smarter than you. It's a 1-minute video that will change your life. Okay. All right. And just be careful in general. Like, I've got I'm teaching some of my students in my MBA degree program about cryptocurrencies and altcoins and other types of investments. And this here is just a prop I have. And so this article came out when Bitcoin was an all-time high. And you got to be careful of the media. I mean, they report on what the general public is interested in hearing. But when the media and everybody in general is talking about how great a certain company is, then you got to run for the exits. You got to be careful because, as Warren Buffett said, you got to be fearful when others are greedy, and then you've got to be greedy when others are fearful, which basically means be a contrarian. Don't buy the same stock or investment that everybody likes, because what usually pushes that investment or stock higher is a new or incremental investor buying it at a higher price. I want you to form your own opinion always, and buy when there's blood in the streets, which is kind of a harsh thing to say, but that's what they say on Wall Street. When everybody is freaking out, that's when you should be backing up the truck and investing, because people are highly emotional when it comes to investing in stocks in general. And Warren Buffett once said, the New York Stock Exchange is the only store in the world where consumers sell stuff when it goes on sale. So just be a contrarian. Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. And that was another great quote from Mr. Buffett, who is the sage of Omaha for a reason. All right, next up, hello, Chris. Hello. I'm thoroughly enjoying your business plan course. Thank you. You're right. It's awesome here. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm stuck on the financial section, specifically COGS. Okay. And then, so for those who are not familiar with COGS, COGS stands for cost of goods sold. So when you're building an income statement, you always start with sales or revenue, same thing, at the top. Then you deduct how much it cost you to make that product, or how much you bill per hour for a service, okay? So cost of goods sold is the second line item. And your question is here, I'm a doctor planning to start a company setting up OPD centers, meaning in the services industry. Can you please help me with how COGS can be calculated? And then you wrote, this is how I did it. I added all the related expenses such as salaries, rental equipment, depreciation, utilities, and divided this by capacity consultation units. For example, I will have 6 doctors consulting, which each can cater to 10 patients for a total capacity of 60 per day. My monthly expenses is 10. Okay, so you listed a lot of expenses, most of which are not part of COGS. So the way it works is in an income statement, you start with sales, then you put in the cost of goods sold. So if you're a doctor and let's say you're billing out at $200 per hour, but you're actually only being paid $100 per hour. So the cost of goods sold would be $100. Okay. The sales, say you build 1 hour, you made $200 in revenue. That's sales, same thing, the top. That's why they call it the top line. And then your cost of goods sold was $100 that you billed for your 1 hour of work. Okay. And below that come other expenses that are called operating expenses, expenses to operate your business, like S&M, which is sales and marketing, G&A, which is general administrative, and then you've got R&D, which is research and development. And if you're not sure where to put something, throw it in the G&A bucket. And then below that, you've got a couple more line items, below the line items, they call it, including depreciation, which is a non-cash expense, and I can go there if you want me to. You also have taxes and then interest as well. And then the bottom line is your net profit or net income, same thing. That's why on an income statement, they say, what's your bottom line? What's your net profit? What's your top line? Oh, that's revenue at the top. Yeah. So, and if you have additional questions about that, please let me know, and thank you. Okay, next up is John Clee, who's from Rochester. And I always remember this because you asked me once about my favorite Canadian comedians. And I remember your name is John Clee, but I always think of John Cleese, the great British comedian. And John is writing here. Where do you see the world financial services industry going? More automated? Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So it's something I'm vlogging about today as well. My vlogs drop every day at 9 a.m. So I talk about this. So you can watch that vlog if you want to. The bottom line is that whenever I look at any type of investment class, I always ask myself one basic question when I'm doing my research, which takes a while. But the one basic question is, in 5 years, is this certain company or technology or way of doing things going to be more relevant or less relevant than it is today. And so I think in 5 years, you're going to have much more automation and artificial intelligence-based algorithms, et cetera, within the financial services sector, so that a lot of jobs will go away. Now, I don't think the sales job will ever go away. Sales is the most important job in business and in finance, actually, because relationships are more important than product knowledge. And your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth, something like that. But I think of the jobs in financial services that will get disintermediated or helped by artificial intelligence includes execution, meaning trading, and sales trading as well to a lesser extent. I think a lot of those roles, trading-related roles, will go away. Not proprietary traders, meaning traders that make money for banks or trade a certain sector, but just execution traders, because online technology can already do that. Whenever you buy a stock on E-Trade or online at any other online brokerage site, there's not somebody in the background entering that. It's all automated. So I think the big institutional investment firms will also have a lot of that automated instead of having too many traders on hand. Yeah. Okay. And Ernesto's saying, what would be the most efficient way to get my Series 65? So for those who are not familiar with Series 65, I've taken a couple of these exams. There's FINRA, which is an American financial services governing body. They make you take certain exams in order to be able to manage money for people in a lot of industries. The big one everybody hears of is called the Series 7, which is basically a review of the first year of business school. Then there's a couple others like the Series 63 and others that deal with ethics as well. I had to take all of them, mandated by FINRA. And so the best way to do it is you can go to a test center and take this, or what you can do is you can actually go to a company similar to the Princeton Review that will help you with your GMAT, LSAT, MCAT, etc. Please don't do an LSAT unless you want to be a civil rights lawyer. Then I love you. Otherwise. But that's what I would do. I would search online for test prep companies for the Series 65. And then when you take it, obviously you have to go to a government test center. And there's a number of them in a lot of big cities in the United States. And you probably can do some of it online now, but just do a search online for Series 65 test prep, and you'll get a lot of answers there. Yeah. And don't buy books brand new if you're going to do that. Like, for example, a lot of people ask me about the CFA, which is a Certified Financial Analyst designation. And I always say, don't buy the books from the CFA company. What I want you to, because it'll cost you $1,000 and they're big and boring. Here's what you buy. And I showed a student this recently. I don't know why that keeps coming up. Fine, allow. All right, I showed a student this recently, and these here are the books for $5. All the CFA books you need, right? And these are used, obviously, but it's all those big textbooks condensed into just a couple of smaller handbooks. These are used and they cost next to nothing. I want to save you money so you can work smarter, not harder. And if you have additional questions based on that, please let me know. Thank you. All right, Melody from Atlanta. How are you, Melody? Melody is saying, good morning, Chris. Good morning to you. Hope you had a great week and a good morning today. I did. Thank you. Hope you and your family are doing well. Likewise. Thank you. And then you wrote, I have 10 more videos to shoot, and then I'm off to the editing process. This is awesome. So Melody is a teacher from Atlanta, and she's making her first course on Udemy, which is awesome. And by the way, everybody has something to teach. Everybody has something to teach. There's this one incredible woman that teaches on Udemy. Her name is Teresa Greenway, and she's incredible. And so what happened was Teresa, poor thing, she was in a really abusive relationship, bad marriage, really abusive husband. It was terrible. And they didn't have any money, and they had many, many children. And she had the courage one day to stand up to that jerk and leave him. And she left, and she took some of her kids with her, the younger ones. And she was living off of food stamps. And in order to get by, she thought to herself, what do I enjoy doing most in life? And she said, well, I love baking bread. And I interviewed her actually for my Inc. column years ago. You can search online for that. But she said, I love to bake bread. And it's very prophetic. And so now she makes a career. She does extraordinarily well teaching how to bake bread. I got to show you this. I'm getting shivers just thinking about it. So if we go here to bread on udemy.com, she's got to come up first here. All right, here we go. It's coming. Here it is. This is it. Okay, sourdough baking bread 101. I can't speak today. It makes me hungry, yeah. But this is Teresa right here. She has all these great courses, just a ton of them. Yeah, you can go to her page here and see them. What I'll do actually is I'm going to paste this in the YouTube message board here so you guys can access it if you want. It's great. And what people don't realize is that everybody's got something to teach. You know, everybody can have a side hustle doing this. There's a guy named Ninja who my kids love, because my kids like this video game Fortnite. And Ninja makes millions of dollars every year just streaming himself playing Fortnite. It's kind of crazy, but cool. And he started out teaching on Udemy, Twitch. And so when he streams streams Fortnite, what he does is he streams it with a product that Amazon owns called Twitch. Here he is. This is it. Ninja's Guide to Streaming, Grow Your Channel. This is where he started. This is where he got enough capital to be able to start his own company, which is streaming. He makes a fortune now. I think he might be exclusive now to Microsoft. He signed a $10 million contract with them, I think, and no longer to Twitch, which again is Amazon's video game video system online where you can record yourself gaming and then stream, kind of like I'm doing now. And then Melody wrote, "I'm 50%. Oh, you're doing your book as well. You're 50% done with your book. That's awesome. I got to show you guys something. So a lot of my students have written books, and they're all awesome. Let me grab it. Hold on. So I have a template for all of you. Melody is using too. It's a free template. I don't ask for your email or anything. You can download it, and I wrote all my books using this template. And so to get and these are books that have been written by a lot of my students. This one here is awesome. This is Juan David. He's 16 years old, and he's from Venezuela. He and his mother escaped. Very, very tough upbringing. He wrote this in his second language, which is English. And it got actually written up by the Chicago Tribune. Juan David easily could be described as a Renaissance man. And he's done 2 TEDx talks. Dude, at 16, I couldn't even talk. That's amazing, yeah. And here's other books that my other students have written. But the first one, actually, I'll never forget this one, is Phil Germany, who's usually on this weekly call. And Phil wrote a book. It's prophetic. It's called Super Students. It's actually about chess. It's a great book. He teaches about chess. And then we've got Eric, who's one of my MBA degree students, who wrote an awesome book about, it's called Ego Trip and Personal Power, which is great. And he started vlogging too. His vlogs are great. And then Yolanda, another one of my MBA degree students, wrote The Smart Guide to Healthcare Savings. And she lives in Texas. She's got a wealth of knowledge as well. And God bless you all for sharing this with the world. Now, let me show you how to get the template. So you can go to harounventures.com. /write book, all one word. So harounventures.com / all lowercase write book. And what you can do, and anybody can write a book. You click here, you download it in Microsoft Word format. If you know how to use Word in a browser, you can write a book. And all the instructions are here on the first page on how to do it. This here will help you publish it for free to Amazon Kindle. This here will, there's a URL forwarding process set up by Amazon here so that you can actually write this type of paper book for free. And then there's also ACX, which is audible.com. And so whenever you buy one of these books, like a paper-based book on Amazon, what we don't realize is that the brilliance of Jeff Bezos and just-in-time inventory. And that means that whenever you buy a book, look on the last page. If it's paperback, it'll tell you the date that this was printed and where it was printed. So for me, this one was printed January 13th. I bought it on the 12th. And then it was made in San Bernardino, California. If you're in Europe, most likely, if you look in the back of a paper book that you bought off of Amazon, it's made in Poland. It's incredible. It's amazing, and it's free for you, and you can make money on it too. But more importantly, you can share your knowledge with the rest of the world, which is a wonderful thing. So everybody should write a book. Think about if you go to a job interview and you bring a book, copy of your book, or you meet with a client and you bring a copy of your book. Nobody does that. But you got to ask yourself, how badly do you want that job or that client? Anybody can do it. So God bless you, Melody. You're writing your book right now, which is awesome. I am such an idiot because I didn't show you guys any of that. I didn't click the next button. Bottom line is just go here to harounventures.com. I had a senior moment. It happens to me sometimes. Hey, man, the older I get, the better I was. So you go to harounventures.com/write-book and click here. That's, yeah. Okay. And if you guys have additional questions about that, please let me know. You'd think after 79 weeks of doing this, I'd know how to do it right. I don't. All right. And I can't wait to read it, Melody, because it will go up on my shelf along with the other books there. And Melody is saying, question, how much sleep do you normally get a day? And do you take supplements to keep your memory sharp? I've heard puzzles help with helping memory too. I'm kind of doing some body hacks too. Yeah. So I get usually between 7 and 8 hours of sleep every single night. If I get less than that, I can't focus. Like Bill Clinton used to get 4 hours of sleep per night when he was president. I don't know how you can do it. I mean, all the power to him for it. But in terms of supplements, I take, and I've shared this all with you guys before. So I take this pack here. And I'm not sponsored by anybody ever, please. I just want to humbly help. This vitamin pack here, which is from the head of engineering at Google, a brilliant man named Ray Kurzweil. And what's in this is that red pill there is resveratrol, which you can find in red wine as well, which slows down aging. You can't reverse aging, you can slow it down. And there's some fish oil supplements here as well. I take a number of other herbs as well every single day, which I talk about in my course called 30-Day Challenge to a More Productive and Much Happier You. Now, there's one product I take that helps with memory, which is called Bacopa. It might be, and please talk to your doctor first before even thinking about taking this stuff. It might be a placebo, I don't know. But I also, in my coffee every day, I drink bulletproof coffee. And again, I'm not sponsored by anybody, but what's in bulletproof coffee is a special grain of coffee that has no mold on it. Because most times when you buy coffee, even high-end coffee, grounded or beans, there's actually mold on it to preserve it. With bulletproof coffee, there's no mold on it. And also what I do is from Bulletproof, the company as well, I buy a product of theirs, which is like coconut oil. It's called MCT oil. And I put a little bit as well in my coffee every morning. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years and I can't stop creating. It's been fun. If you do that, be careful because the first time you put a couple drops and you might get a stomach ache. So do it very slowly, a tiny bit initially, and then start working up to a teaspoon or a tablespoon if you want after you do your research. What I also put in this, and what people have been putting in their tea and coffee for hundreds of years to increase their ability to think and speak gooder, is they put I put a tablespoon of grass-fed organic butter. I know it sounds out there, but it actually tastes good. It's like milk. I don't put milk or sugar or anything in it. And people have been doing that for hundreds of years to increase their cognitive abilities. So anyway, it works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. Find out what works for you. But I do love to biohack, which means I experiment a lot with different supplements, etc. Yeah, and we're all different. But I really do think that we all have to take multivitamins because we don't know what genetic deficiencies we have that might lead to us getting certain diseases later in life. And if you take a broad array of vitamins, as recommended by your doctor, then you might find out years from now that you've always been deficient in vitamin A, B, C, D, whatever it is, vitamin E, sunlight, whatever it is. And if you nip it in the bud, so to speak, and you take 100% of the daily recommended dosage, then you might not ever get those diseases that genetically you should be getting, so to speak. It's kind of like that movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise from 2002, Steven Spielberg's masterpiece, where it was an interesting movie because there's something called the pre-crime group, which is out there but cool. And Tom Cruise and the pre-crime group were able to find out what crimes people are going to commit. By the same token, if you get your DNA sequence, which I've done, you can find out what diseases you're going to get. And what you can do is you can talk to your doctor about medication now so that you actually don't get those diseases. So for me, for example, I did 23andMe years ago when it first came out. And it said there's a 67% probability that I'm going to get AMD or age-related macular degeneration. My eyesight will go down one day. And so I called my mom and I said, Mom, what do you think? And she said, oh my goodness, it's interesting because your grandfather had that in his 60s. And so my doctor, I went to an eye doctor. My eyes are fine for now. But my eye doctor told me about this organic zinc pill I can take over the counter, which will nip in the bud. So I'll never get that disease, knock on wood, hopefully. But I think what we all have to do is we all have to talk to our older relatives, not just your parents, but your aunts, your uncles, grandparents, and just ask them what, or just find out somehow what diseases or illnesses they had. Because a lot of it is genetic, and there's a chance you might get it as well. And if you take supplements or you eat the proper foods early on, then you might never get that. And what I usually do is I have a green shake, which has all the antioxidants I can possibly find. And I make them usually on Sundays. I didn't have time this week, actually. I was so busy making my MBA course stuff. So I cheated. I actually got this from 7-Eleven of all places. This is cold pressed organic juice. It's got 25 kale leaves in it. 7-Eleven, I know, eh? It's got parsley, celery, cucumbers, all that stuff. I usually make it myself. Didn't have time this week. But anyway, hopefully that's helpful. All right. Next up, Melody is saying, also taking this recipe, 6 peeled lemons. Yeah, I do lemons every week in my shake as well. 30 garlic cloves. I only do garlic. This is out there. But whenever I feel like I'm starting to get sick, I will eat garlic. Yeah, it's out there. But for me, it works. It works, yeah. I don't know why. And I love to biohack and experiment too. Not with dangerous stuff, but just, yeah. Okay. And you wrote a little bit of lemon and water. You like to blend it, simmer it for 8 minutes. Don't let it boil. Strain it, store in glass, and drink 1 cup daily. Yeah. I think, yeah, you wrote it helps with your blood pressure. And you wrote you're on day 4 with it so far. Interesting, because last week I actually talked about, give me 1 second here, please. Yeah, last week I talked about this watch I got, which I thought I left on the floor there. I don't know where it is, whatever, I'm messy. This looks neat too, clean, but you guys have no idea how bad the floor is. There's just props everywhere for my courses and stuff. But I bought this watch from Omron, which is a great Japanese company that makes blood pressure products. And I wear it when I can find it. And not only does it tell you your heart rate, but more importantly, it actually takes my blood pressure. It's a little bit bulky. And if you want, you can go back to last week's webcast, week number 78, and watch the first couple of minutes because I actually did a review on it. But what happens is the watch, a little bit of air is pulled into it and it expands. I don't know how, but it's pretty cool. It expands kind of like when you go to the doctor and they take your blood pressure. And it tells you your blood pressure. And it's legit too. It is legit. So I'm a biohacker. I'm a nerd. I'm a first mover. I'm a techie. I love experimenting with that stuff. Yeah. But that helps with my blood pressure monitor at least. And you wrote you're on day 4 with it so far. Yeah. And for me, even though I eat very healthy and exercise, I still have ridiculously high cholesterol. You know, it's genetic. There's nothing I can do. I tried taking red rice yeast capsules. I tried everything. I tried diet. Doesn't matter. So I do take simvastatin as prescribed by my doctor. And the side effects is it can hurt your liver if you drink. I don't drink anyway. It's fine. All right. And Valens, who is one of our MBA degree students who lives in New Zealand but is from Indonesia originally. Welcome, Valens. Good to have you. You wrote, Chris, how do you do things consistently without losing motivation? For example, you know how we were all excited about trying new things. However, after a while, you get bored and you don't want to do that thing anymore. Yeah. So I would say you got to take your breaks. You know, it's prophetic and true since the beginning of time that you have to rest 1 day a week. It's not just a religious thing. It's a fact of life. You know, human nature hasn't really changed in 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 years. You know, you got to take 1 day off a week if you can. And I'm such a hypocrite because past couple of weeks I've been working so hard on this, on creating courses, whatever, that I haven't taken as many breaks as I should have. So when one teaches, two learn. So here we go. Take 1 day off a week every week and spend time with your family because you can't get that time back. And by the time your kids are 12, you've already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. It's true. And there's so many exceptional people in the world that take weekends off, and they're very productive and they're amazing at what they do. Sandy Koufax is probably my favorite example. So Sandy Koufax was a great pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers back in the 1950s and 60s. He was incredible, but he wouldn't pitch on the Sabbath ever. And there's also probably my favorite store to buy camera equipment from. I like it even better than Amazon. It's called B&H, and they're in New York City. They were founded in 1973, and they don't take orders on Fridays at sundown for religious reasons. In fact, if you go to their website on Friday after sundown, you can put stuff in your basket, but you cannot check out. It's really, really interesting. And they're so good at what they do. They're amazing that, and they're probably so successful, partially because they take one day off a week to rest. So you got to force yourself to take that one day off per week if you can. This is driving me crazy. I finally got another Ember mug, and this new version, it works a bit better, but it actually leaks at the bottom now. Anyway, ridiculous. I'll send it back, but I'll be leaning over now. Yeah. So in addition to taking that one day off per week, what I recommend doing is try to make sure that whatever it is you do, that you love it so much that it's a passion. You know, as Confucius said, do what you love doing and you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. You know, what is your passion? What's your purpose? And Mark Twain once said, the two most important days in your life are number one, the day you're born, and number two, the day you find out why. What's your why? What's your purpose? You know, what drives you? What gets you excited deep down inside? And whatever that is, I think that should be your career, no matter what anybody says. And don't give a damn what anybody thinks anyway. Otherwise, you'll always be their prisoner up in your mind. You'll live your life on your own terms. You be you. You do you. You do what you're most passionate about in life. And if you're not doing what you're most passionate about in life, and you have a full-time job that you can't stand, then start a side hustle. Take my business plan course. Let me help you. Start a side hustle and try to create a company on the side, which is your passion. Or take my complete job course and change jobs. I've got a lifetime guarantee in that course. I'm so convinced you'll get the job of your dreams. I will give you your money back forever. But just find out what you're most passionate about and never do it just for the money. You know, do something you love doing. And again, as Confucius said, you'll never have a job for the rest of your life. Yeah. But if you wrote here, you get bored after a while, then maybe that's not your passion. Maybe that's your mind subconsciously telling you that you weren't meant to be doing this. So I don't know, and ask yourself why you're doing that in the first place. You know, was it because you thought it'd be prestigious, that position? I'm making this up. Or did you do it because your mom and dad would be proud of you to have that job? What was the reason that you actually are doing that job? And really understand the why. Don't ever try to say, I'm going to work my butt off to get a great job. Ask yourself, why do you want that job? And write down your goals. Write down your 10-year goals and update them often. And if what you're doing now doesn't help you to get to your perfect life in 10 years or your 10-year goals, then think about somehow changing that career track by getting another job. Or maybe intern if you're younger, or shadow people, or do informational meetings. But you can take my complete job course. I promise you, it'll help you tremendously. And Valenz, you're in my MBA degree program, so obviously you don't have to take that course because we go through it together in class. Yeah. All right. And Melody's saying you need to do. Oops, lost my place. Hold on a second, guys. This happens sometimes. Melody, you need. Here we go. Okay. Now, for the blood pressure thing, you said you need to do it for 3 weeks, then stop for 1 week and start back up again. You wrote, dude, I was scared to drink it. I know what you mean. It's garlic, right? But I'm Middle Eastern. My dad cooks always with garlic. I love it. Yeah. And Melody wrote, but once you get past the first cup, you're okay. The lemons and honey helps. Yeah. I do lemons actually in a lot of my stuff. And Tony Robbins actually told me that. He said that put lemons in everything. And for those of you that want to get vitamin C, don't waste your time with orange juice because you have so many wasted carbohydrate calories through sugar. A better way to do it is lemon. Yeah. And honey is great too. And a lot of people, before they travel to certain countries, they'll actually order honey from that country and they'll consume it with their tea or coffee a couple weeks before they take their trip. Because somehow, and this is out there, but somehow it stops you from getting sick when you go to those countries. And bees are amazing. Like I vlogged about bees on it was December 31st, 2018. And I went in Monterey, I went to a bee farm with my kids. And I wore those suits. I looked like one of the Intel dudes or Homer Simpson when he's working in the factory, whatever. And they explained how bees are being studied by geneticists because a regular bee turns into a queen bee. Not that often, but it happens, right? And the queen bee runs, runs everything. And they genetically alter their structure when they decide they want to be queen bee by consuming a different type of food. And so geneticists look at that really closely. So it's a fascinating science, the science of honeybees. Okay, not the honey badger. I don't know if you guys saw that video on YouTube, the honey badger. I saw it years ago. It was one of those trending videos which cracked me up. It's pretty funny. A lot of swearing though, so earmuffs for your kids. All right, and Kashish is saying, hey, Chris, good morning. Good morning to you too. Hope you're doing well. Same with you. Please, could you explain how ESOP works, employee stock option programs, and how much % of equity should generally be given to them if they join us early in the company? Yeah, it's a great question. So ESOP stands for Employee Stock Option Program, which basically means when you join a company or you work at a company for a while, in addition to being given money for your salary, you're given shares. And so what happens, and an example actually for me is I worked at Goldman Sachs, and this is just a prospectus for my MBA students for when Goldman went public in '99. I was there at the time, but when I worked there, I was given shares, a very tiny amount because I was a grunt. I was photocopy boy, but I'm a very good photocopier, and I was given shares, and I wasn't allowed to sell them until a certain time. And what happens usually in a lot of companies is you're given shares in the company, but through options, but you're not allowed to actually cash them in every year. You have to wait 3 or 4 years. And that means they call it vesting, which means you can cash in your chips every 3 or 4 years. That's what vesting means. And they give you shares every single year that vest every 4 years. So it's like a waterfall approach. So every time you want to leave, you think, oh my God, if I leave, I'm leaving all this money on the table. And it's like golden handcuffs. It keeps you there, keeps you there. Yeah, so anyway, that's what an ESOP is. And if you have an additional question, let me know. But, oh, you're asking also what % should be given to them if they join us early in the company. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're on the other side and you're interviewing to go to a tech company or any company where you can be given a lot of options, I would try to get a higher base salary if you have the option. Higher base salary or more shares. Here's why. Because you're going to be given shares probably every year anyway at that company. It's hard to argue for a big increase in your base salary. And also, like 99% of your net worth is going to be those shares anyway, if the company does well. If it doesn't, well, you got cash anyway. So that's what I would say. But it all depends. Like I've seen founders of companies get diluted from owning 100% of the company in venture capital. Then venture capital investors invest, and then they own less than 20% of the company by the time it goes public. That's the founder. And they don't mind owning less than 20% because they're worth much, much more because the price of the option or the stock or private company, so to speak, goes up a lot. So I think that, and I've seen cases where in the A rounds, one of the earlier stages, when a director of engineering or VP of engineering is brought in, they get about 2 or 3% of the company. It's not very much. So I think you should think about it in terms of a very, very small number. And I don't know the size of your company, but I would say well under 1%. Yeah. All right. But also tell them that they're likely, if it's true, and get legal involved, obviously, they're likely going to get more shares, over the years, and through share grants. Anyway, yeah, hopefully that helps. All right, next up is Valenza saying, I've read somewhere that when you're trying to find your passion, the pathway is not always when you try new things and straight away you like it. However, in the beginning, you may not like it. After trying and solving problems, you can begin to like it. Would you call that one way to find your passion? Because a lot of people mistaken when you do things for the first time, it's easy, but when it gets too hard, you become quite lazy. Yeah, I would say, like it's like love. You'll know true love when you feel it. Like butterflies in your stomach. You can't just date somebody and then learn to love them. I think it has to be immediate. I think you have to absolutely be incredibly passionate about whatever it is you're doing immediately and then build upon that. However, if you're working at a big company and you don't like it, and I get it, we all have to put bread on the table, I know. But maybe you can condition yourself to like it. Tell yourself you love it. Kind of like you condition yourself to say, I don't want to eat this chocolate cake in front of me. Even though it tastes good, I don't want to eat it because there'll be a lot of negative health repercussions. But no, I humbly believe that it's a great job that you're passionate about, so to speak, is like true love. You feel it right here. You love it. You love it to the extent that it's something you want to do in your vacation. It's something that you would do for free. And Baha'i Gamer is saying, hey, Chris, yeah, I want to start an esports tournament. And for that, I need sponsors. But how do I get any sponsors, seeing as this is my first event and gaming isn't a big deal in India? So I would start by getting a following on Twitch. And I know a lot about this because one of my kids is doing it. And one of my kids is actually making a bunch of money online from Twitch streams, which is pretty cool. But I would try to get a big following on Twitch. And for those of you not familiar with Twitch, it's a company that Amazon bought for $400 million, which is nothing. But it's the largest video game streaming company now on the planet. So use Twitch and try to get a following that way. And one thing I recommend doing is I actually recommend taking a course on Twitch by Ninja. And I know you know who Ninja is. So all you do is you go here to Udemy. Here it is. And coincidentally, I had it up. My son's actually taking this. But this course here is Ninja's Guide to Streaming and Growing Your Channel. Yeah, so check that out. There's no one better to learn than from Ninja. He is the #1 streamer on the planet. Yeah, so anyway, hopefully that helps. And if that doesn't work, let me know and we'll look at another way. And Omar is saying, hi, Chris, happy Thursday. Thanks again for all you do. Thank you, Omar. Appreciate it. Happy Thursday to you too. Okay. All right. Next up, a Baha'i Gamer is saying, I have an interesting story. I asked you a question about esports last week, but due to time constraints, you couldn't answer. And this week, Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man, says gaming is the next big thing. Yeah. Yeah. So, and unfortunately, if there are tons of questions, I can't answer them. Just, you guys can paste it next week. Or if you're in my MBA degree program, we have MBA degree office hours later today. But no, I agree. I agree that the next big thing is going to be e-gaming. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's only a matter of time until certain video gamers make more money than all major athletes combined. That's right. Because if you're a gamer and you're streaming, you've got 7 billion potential customers immediately. Versus if you're an athlete, well, you got to schedule the games well in advance. You got to travel to a different city. Then you have to wait till an opposing team is in place. Yeah. So I think it's a massive, massive sport. And a lot of people don't get it. And ask younger people, what do you watch? And they'll never say TV. They say YouTube. Then you say this. Well, what do you watch if YouTube is down? Which never happens. But what would you watch if YouTube is down? And they'll either say, I don't know, TikTok or Twitch. It's a big deal. So all of a sudden, the second or third biggest media platform on the planet for the younger demographic is Twitch. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. It's amazing, yeah. And older people like us, me, we don't get it. We don't get it. I mean, this generation was born digital. They were born watching YouTube. And I love the generation because they're more positive than the older generation because they don't watch the news. Like when I was a kid, I remember my parents would watch 60 Minutes. And it was interesting. I loved it, but it was also very negative. And so I was around my parents watching, you know, I remember breaking news, the Gulf War, whatever it was on CNN. And I was always around watching on the couch with them. But the younger generation, they don't see that because they watch these digital marketing brilliant people that have their own YouTube channels. They watch them. And these people usually talk about happy-go-lucky stuff. And so they're kind of sheltered from all the negativity, so to speak. And so this younger generation is really positive. And I've got a great example of it. There's one of my students, 16 years old, never met him, he's in Chicago. He wrote Generation Optimism. It's a great book. It's a great book. But they're more positive. They're more positive people, the younger generation. And that's a great thing. And the problem is now with the media in general is they're trying to compete with YouTube and they're trying to maintain eyeballs, whatever, people watching. And so they'll have this awful clickbait, like on television. You know, you'll see right, you know, during the news, they'll say, find out why the world's going to end in 24 hours after this commercial break. You know, the clickbait is just brutal now. So anyway, I love the younger generation. They inspire me a lot. I agree that gaming is the next big thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And my son, one of my kids, he started a company doing that right now. And I'm like, dude, do whatever you want to do. So I'm that enabling father that doesn't tell their kids you have to be a lawyer or an engineer or whatever. I'm like, hey, man, that makes you happy. All the power to you. And Vishal is saying, "Yo, I'm on for the right time, first time. Awesome, welcome to the call." And Mike Vulcan, Mike, I've never seen you before on the call. Welcome. I hope you join us again as well. Mike is right. Hi, Chris. Every time I engage a conference, they want me to pay. Okay, how do I find conferences and companies that will pay for presentations or speeches? Okay. So you want somebody to pay you to give a keynote. Yeah. 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 So what you have to do, and I get approached a bunch for keynotes and speeches. What you have to do is you have to start vlogging more. You have to start writing articles more. You have to do a lot more social media. You got to be active on LinkedIn and different platforms. And whatever it is that your profession is, I want you to be the thought leader. How do you become a thought leader? Well, you think like a leader. You opine a lot. You give your opinion a lot. You write a lot. And the best advice I can give you to get started with social media is this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, which a lot of you have heard of. He's this guy from the East Coast of the United States. He kind of rubs people the wrong way at first, and you grow to love him because he's very, very transparent. But just go to Gary V's website here, okay, and I'll paste it here for you so you guys can get access to this. Here you go. Go to Gary V's website, and then what I want you to do is I want you to scroll down, and I want you to read 86 pages of insanity right here. And it's just a presentation like Mary Meeker's from Kleiner years ago, and you can just kind of click through it like here, see? And he'll tell you exactly how to repurpose content, how to create your own brand, etc. And you might be wondering, well, Chris, which social media platform should I use? Well, I would say always go to the bottom of Gary V's website and look at these logos in this order. Okay, so that's Instagram. And I started doing Instagram videos today, actually, finally. YouTube is second, which obviously I do. Facebook, I don't know. I don't really trust the brand, whatever. Do Twitter, Snapchat. I've tried. The younger generation gets it. I don't know if I'm there yet. LinkedIn, I use a ton. And I think this is podcasts. He got rid of Method and other stuff that he thinks is irrelevant. And I think he's money. I think he's right. And if I were you also, I would listen to some of his audiobooks as well. He's great. He's great. Yeah. He grows on you. All right. And Kunal is saying, good morning, Chris. Good morning to you too. And John is saying, how do you stay motivated each day and every day? Yeah. So I think that we're all a product of our environment. You've got to kind of if people are making you negative in your life, cut them off. That's right. Cut them all off. If they're bringing you down, cut them off, right? And that will make sure your motivation doesn't go away. Also, being a product of your own environment, you got to spoil yourself as well. You know, make a work environment that's comfortable for you. This here is a Fully desk, F-U-L-Y, that will go up and down. It's comfortable for me. I bought this chair here after Internet Bubble 1.0 burst. It's a nice chair, whatever. It's comfortable for me. I love being in my office. I spoil myself with coffee, good coffee. I love it. Sometimes I'll go to bed at night and I'm like, I can't wait to wake up to have my coffee, meaning can't wait to work. Also, you set the soundtrack of your own life, you know, so play music in the background that really inspires you. You know, like sometimes I'll do this. Alexa, play the music from the motion picture Interstellar.
Interstellar Radio from Spotify.
That's not what I meant, but you get the idea. Okay, Alexa, please stop. Alexa, please stop. Maybe I shouldn't say please. Alexa, stop. Alexa, mute. I think it's because I'm too Canadian. I said the word please, and she got confused by somebody trying to be polite to a robot. Yeah. Yeah, so John, I set the soundtrack for my own life. You know, I spoil myself with music or whatever it might be. But yeah, listen to soundtracks of movies that inspire you, like Man of Steel. I love that one. Or The Natural. I love that soundtrack. Randy Newman. Oh my God, it's the best ever. So whatever movies inspired you, get the soundtracks. Listen to them while you work. It's fun. It's fun. Take your breaks as well and change the scene every now and then. Like for me, sometimes it gets lonely because I work by myself. I'm in this room by myself all the time. Kind of like a radiologist in the basement with no windows, but I do have a window. So what I'll do is sometimes I'll just take my laptop and I'll actually work from Paris Baguette. It's a great coffee shop here. Or I'll go to the gym and I'll bring my laptop on the gym and I'll mix it up, or I'll actually go to the actual library, which is free to go to, just to mix it up. And for all of you that are having creative problems, meaning you got some sort of block up here and you can't think clearly, and you have to study for something, or you have a big project coming up at work, I want you to think of this. I want you to think of when you were younger and you went to the library and you found your favorite desk in the library, right deep in the stacks, right in the back corner. You know what I'm talking about. And remember how incredibly productive you were when you studied there. I want you to go back to that place. If you live close to the library, if you live close to the library you used to go to when you were younger to study, go there, change your scene up a bit there. Another thing you can do to be creative and have revolutionary, I don't know, brainstorming sessions, so to speak, is do what Steve Jobs did. Steve Jobs used to always go for a walk, and that's when he came up with his best ideas. He used to go with Walt Mossberg, actually, a great journalist, my favorite journalist, and go on long walks with Walt and just talk to him. He'd also go on long walks with his best friend Ellison, who's the CEO of Oracle. You know, and I do that too. I schedule time for walks as well. It just helps you have this sort of breakthrough as well. So anyway, and Jobs didn't always go with Larry Ellison. He'd go by himself as well, sometimes as well. So just that will kind of help you. Also, make sure that you take at least one day off a week. And just unwind if you possibly can. It's a great investment for you because I was watching National Geographic years ago, and they were profiling a cheetah and a gazelle, and the cheetah was chasing the gazelle. And what they did was they somehow monitored the gazelle. They monitored and saw that the heart rate increased dramatically. And what happened was the immune system shut down in the gazelle. The reproductive system shut down in the gazelle because the gazelle's body and the heart was focused on pumping blood as fast as possible and just surviving. It was a survival tactic. And imagine the amount of stress that the gazelle felt. Now, if you compare and contrast that with us, with humans, we're not supposed to feel stress like that unless we're being chased by, I don't know, somebody, right? You're not supposed to feel that stress, but we put so much stress on ourselves in the workplace. And what happens is when we put a lot of stress on ourselves and we don't take breaks, then just like the gazelle, our immune system slows down. We get sick more often, and there's other byproducts. And it's interesting because we have a lot of friends, Christine and I, my wife and I, that have tried to conceive, and we've had friends that it's been so hard. And what happens is, they try to have a baby, and it gets so stressful when they check to see if they're pregnant. And then eventually they just give up and they do something wonderful, which is they adopt a baby, which is a beautiful thing. And then later on, when they're happy with this one beautiful adopted child, they get pregnant naturally. And just because there's no stress. So don't be the gazelle, please. The worst thing you can possibly do is overstress yourself out, because that will basically take away all motivation from you. And let me finish this question with a great story from the Dalai Lama. So the Dalai Lama has this great book called The Art of Happiness, which you should all read. It's wonderful. And he said the problem with Western society is that we sacrifice our health, our entire lives in order to make money. And then at the end of our lives, we sacrifice all of our money in order to maintain our health. And then we look back and we realize we never really lived to begin with. So take your breaks. Take your breaks. And if you're still incredibly stressed out after taking your breaks and your vacation, then maybe you're in the wrong line of work. Maybe. I don't know. And probably the best advice that was ever given to me in business was I worked at Goldman Sachs years ago, and one of my clients, her name was Rhonda Chang at Manulife in Toronto, a big insurance company, which is Canadian. A lot of people don't realize that. And I was really stressed out when I was working. I was talking to her, and Rhonda said something amazing. She said, "Chris, the second you come back from vacation, what I want you to do is I want you to go to your calendar and look out 6 months and book your next vacation. That's the first thing you should do when you get back. You got to take your breaks. Otherwise, you'll never reach your full potential in life." All right. This coffee cup is driving me nuts. It's spilling. Ugh. Whatever. Okay. All right. Omar is saying, do you recommend going to Dale Carnegie leadership or sales course? Yes, I've done them both. They're great. They're great. Yeah. So I actually, I've done them multiple times. So Warren Buffett, he doesn't have his Columbia MBA degree on his wall. He has his certificate of completion from the Dale Carnegie course. He credits that course with changing his life, making him who he is today. He took it when he was 18 or 19. That's when I took it as well. Coincidentally, I had no idea. That's the only thing we have in common, right? He has 8 million more zeros beside his net worth than I do. But no, I think it's great. And if you don't have the budget to do it, and I'm saying to everybody on the call, then just read, just to start, 2 books from Dale Carnegie. One of them is called How to Start Worrying and Stop Living. And the other one is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. But no, I've taken those courses. They're great. They're great. And the best thing about them is the sales course makes you, actually both courses, they make you stand up and speak in front of everybody. They also teach you a lot of life lessons, like how to remember names of people. And I remember the names of every single person in that class when I was 19. And they make you do visualization as well to remember that. And it's great. I would do it if you possibly can. Yeah. And for those of you that are scared of public speaking, you could take my complete presentation course as well. I have a public speaking course. But the only problem with my course is that you don't really get to practice. You're just watching it. In my MBA degree program, you get to practice in front of everybody using Zoom, whatever. But I think what's better than taking my courses is taking the Dale Carnegie course. Yeah. Yeah, I would do it. Yeah. All right. Next up, and what the sales course actually will teach you, like, it'll teach you also how to network a little bit, and also how to present. And sales is really, like, people don't realize that relationships are more important than product knowledge in business. And it takes us years to realize that. Like, when we were younger, when we were in school, if we get good grades, we think, oh my gosh, everything works out great. My parents are proud of me. They stay off my case. Teachers are happy, whatever. Then you start working, you graduate, and you keep your head down, you work hard, and you do a good job. And you're like, why are other people getting promoted and not me? Why are other people getting raises and not me? The reason is because you're not asking for a raise or a promotion. If you want to get a raise or a promotion, you got to ask. You know, the real world is different from school. You want to get anything in life, you got to ask. You want to get a date, obviously you got to ask over and over and over again. I had to ask too many times. But school is not really representative of the real world. You got to ask. You got to ask. So, but the Dale Carnegie course will teach you how to ask the right way as well. Yeah. That's what sales is. And I remember, I remember when I was a kid growing up in Canada, in the 80s. It was during the peak of the Cold War. And I love Ronald Reagan. He was, oh my God, he was the best president ever. Love that guy. And I remember the cover of Time in Newsweek in the 80s was the downfall of the American student. And every 5 or 10 years, I see the same darn articles. It's ridiculous, which is American students are 50th in the world in math, 50th in the world in science. You know, the American empire is crumbling. Ridiculous. Because I realized one thing. When I moved to the States and I started teaching on the West Coast here during the evenings, and 50% of my students were born overseas. But I realized when I started teaching students here on the West Coast, and again, I have to say it, 50% of my students are from overseas when I teach here too. But I realized that American students, regardless of where they were born, are number one in the world in the most important economic category that nobody talks about, which is confidence. And with confidence, you know, comes the ability to sell a dream, you know, like Tucker did. You can see my Tucker car over here. If you haven't seen that movie Tucker with Jeff Bridges, watch it. It's awesome. With confidence, pardon me, comes the ability to sell something boring like cloud computing and make it sound exciting like Mark Benioff does, who's an amazing human being and a great humanitarian. So confidence has a lot to do with success because confidence leads to perceived competence. Now, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. You can't be overconfident, obviously. But when you're selling, you'll find that you have to be upbeat and confident as well. And you also have to be ethical and disclose all risks. It's kind of like, we studied this in my MBA degree program. This is the S1 document for Goldman Sachs when they went public. All the risks are listed in here and all the good stuff too. So when you're selling, you have to list all the risks and pretend that you're selling a product that your parents would buy as well. But always spend the first 5 minutes of every meeting forever just getting to know the person, because business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. Your net worth is your network. Okay, next up, Kunal is saying, hey, Chris, is that a graphics card behind you on the shelf? It is actually. And I'm actually teaching, little red light's not hidden anymore. I'm actually teaching my MBA degree students all about cryptocurrencies, and I updated all my content and stuff. It's a brand new course, and I'm teaching them how to actually build a mining computer, which is fun. My mining computer actually is not here right now because my son Dylan, he's 10, he has show and tell today, and so we built that computer together, and he's got a lot of posters and stuff, and yeah. Anyway, it's kind of cool. So. Yeah. But if you want, I can explain how to build a computer right now for you guys. If you want to go down that route, I can explain everything from scratch in literally 2 minutes. Okay, so you guys let me know. But this here is a graphics card, and a lot of people don't realize that the most powerful component within, the most important component within computers when it comes to mining or playing video games is not the Intel or AMD processor, it's the graphics card. And video gamers hate cryptocurrency miners because when cryptocurrencies go up a lot, that the miners buy more of these things, which drives the price of graphic cards up. which video gamers don't like because it makes their, makes computers they want to buy more expensive. Yeah. So anyway, that's that. That's a graphics. Oh, and I have this one here because I fried this. So if you guys are ever going to be making computers, I promise you, you are going to get to a point that you will start a fire. You just will, okay? Because you're plugging in a lot of components or cables into the motherboard, etc. And so I want you to all have a fire extinguisher handy. Always. I have one there, and I have another one over here, right in the corner. And if you start a fire, the first thing you do is you pull the plug, you grab the extinguisher, and then you spray at the base of the flames. Always. And with my kids, they're not allowed to plug these things in. So yeah. And then Himanshu is saying, morning, Chris, nice background lights. Thank you, Himanshu. Appreciate it. And Himanshu, I always smile when I see your name because when I was at Accenture, I mentored a lot of people. And there's this one guy named Himanshu who I mentored as well. He's from India originally. And his family grew up in Russia. Then he moved to Canada. Good guy. So you made me smile. Thank you. Thank you for the comment in the background lighting. Yeah. Solly in the house. Solly is from Lithuania. Solly, great to have you, buddy. And Solly's saying, Chris, I wanted to get a treadmill, but at the same time, I wanted to get a stand bike. Which one is good and helps me do a good amount of exercise? Okay, the best thing you can possibly get is this. And Eric, by the way, who's also Solly in our MBA degree program, you've seen him in Zoom. If you look in the background, he's talked about his elliptical trainer. So I've got a cheap elliptical trainer in my house. Cost me a couple $100. And I went to a gym equipment store and I bought it used. And it's the best damn thing ever because an elliptical trainer is like cross-country skiing. Okay. And cross-country skiing is great for you. I miss Canada now. I used to do it there. It's great for you because cross-country skiing works every muscle group in your body. Okay. And so I have an elliptical trainer and I do at least an hour every single day. And that's how I write all of my content for all the MBA degree program classes. Everything. I do all of it there. Answer questions from students, whatever it is. Everything on that. Whenever you guys don't see me teaching online here, which is at least 20 hours a week I do, usually I'm out of here and I'm on the elliptical trainer or I'm at the gym at 24 Hour Fitness, which is a cheap gym with locations everywhere. But what I do is I put my laptop, I bring my MacBook or my iPad and I put it on the elliptical trainer while I'm exercising. And you guys will find that when you wake up in the morning and you're really fresh and you're productive, and then around 4 o'clock, you're just not productive anymore. Traders on Wall Street used to say at 4 o'clock, I'm a dinosaur, I'm going home. Well, I'm more productive at 4, and here's why. At 4 p.m., I actually make sure that I bring my laptop or my iPad onto the elliptical trainer in the garage or at the gym. And I do work that way. And it's actually not that hard to do work that way. And I'm way more productive. And the reason why I'm really productive is because when you're exercising, you're taking a lot of oxygen into your brain, right? Your body. You're taking a lot of oxygen in, which wakes you up and makes you much more alert. It also releases serotonin and endorphins to make sure you're much happier as well. And when you're happier and when this works better always. Always. So try it out. Try an elliptical trainer if you can. And what I do also is I have an insane number of PowerPoint slides I go through. And so what I do is on the elliptical trainer, I actually have a wireless clicker, which is like a ring. It fits in my finger here. And then I click on it. And that way I can hold both of those handle things and click as I watch my presentation or whatever it is. So I would try that out, Solly. So Solly, when we do our call today, like the MBA office hours call at 11:15, Eric is always there. He's great. Maybe we can ask Eric to get on Zoom and just show us his elliptical trainer, because that model he's got is great. Again, I bought mine used. It's an amazing investment. It's an investment in you, and you'll break even on it like in a nanosecond because you'll be more productive and more happy too. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Your next comment is you mentioned something about Eric. It's awesome. And then Guillermo is saying, greetings from Miami, Chris. Right back at you. I love Miami. I absolutely love that city. And I was playing, this is embarrassing, but in '02, for probably 1 month of my life, was Vice City, the GTA game, which I still think is the best GTA game. And apparently the next Grand Theft Auto coming out is going to be based there again, Vice City, sort of. But that's based on Miami. I love everything about Miami. I used to go to a lot of conferences there. Right at the end, I'd stay at the, I think it was a Four Seasons? No, it was a Ritz-Carlton. When I used to, and that's where I met Mark Andreessen for the first time at a Deutsche Bank conference there. Miami's great. I never understood why more people don't live in Florida. You know, the taxes are low. I love it. Absolutely love Miami. It's fun too. Yeah. All right. I've actually had a lot of investors from Miami too. I used to love going down there and visiting them. Thank you. And my parents are snowbirds. They spend half the year. They live in Fort Lauderdale, which, for those of you not familiar with Florida, is like an hour north of Miami. And snowbirds means Canadians that fly south during the cold months. All right. And Kundan is saying, sir, Chris, please. From the past year, since I started paying attention to finance news, I've only heard of big investment banks asking people to leave. I'm really concerned as an aspiring banker. Yeah. Yeah. So what usually happens is on Wall Street, these big financial services companies, they overhire, and then they overfire. And they tend to cut into muscle and not just fat. It's a very cyclical business, meaning when the economy is doing incredibly well, they hire a ton of people and they pay a lot of money. And when things are not going well at all, they let too many people go. Rinse, lather, repeat. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Yeah. I wouldn't be concerned. And if you're an aspiring banker, make sure that you read my networking book. You can get it from my website, harounventures.com. It's a free download because you will get the job of your dreams if you network a lot. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And when I used to teach during the evenings in classes, the first lesson of every 10-week course I would teach in person, I would say, if I told all of you, all 75 of my students, that if you did one informational meeting every week for the next 10 weeks, that you would get the job of your dreams, would you do it? All hands go up. Then on the last day of class, right before the final exam, I would ask, how many people did a meeting every week for 10 weeks? No hands go up. How many did 9? No hands. How many did 8? Maybe 1 or 2 hands go up. And those are the students that networked. Those are the students that never had the best grades ever, but always got the jobs of their dreams. Yeah. You got to network. And Vishal is saying, thanks, Chris. You win my heart. I wish you had written a book on your life. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It'd be the worst book ever. It'd be so boring. Yeah. Actually, no, it'd be good. It'd be called, biography of Chris Haroun and how to fall asleep faster. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Asamina in the house. How are you? Ooh, Palakia. Asamina is, she's from Greece. She works in Brussels for Ryanair. She creates video games. She's a master coder. And she's moving to, you're moving to an island, I remember, in the Mediterranean. And God, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't one of the Greek islands. Malta, maybe? It was Malta? I'm not sure. I think it was Malta. Yeah. I live vicariously through you. And for those of you wondering why I said Upalakia, my wife is half Greek. And the kids, when they're all babies, she'd take her baby finger and the kids would wrap their hands around it. And she'd teach them to sit up. And for some reason, in Greek, I don't even know what it means, but they would say Upalakia, which I think means sit up or something like that. I don't know. Okay. And Hari is saying, warm greetings, Haroun, right back at you. Thank you. Thanks for your insight about LinkedIn to network with people. I also started to learn more about on LinkedIn Learning. I feel more confident than before, Chris. Thanks for that. That's awesome. You made my day. Thank you, Hari. Appreciate it. God bless you. And Ro is saying, just here to say hi, Chris. God bless. Thank you, and God bless you more. 10 times more. Yeah. And Kundan is saying, sir, Chris, please. I'm planning to start my e-commerce store, but will it affect my interview in an investment bank if I say I was an entrepreneur before, because they will think I will leave after some years? No, I mean, you disclose everything you've done, but just make sure you say why you're passionate about it in investment banking, right? Just say why you're passionate about that as a career and why you love it and what you learned from running your own company, which could help you in your finance career. You can even say that, and this here is an S1 document, an IPO document for Goldman Sachs. And I have one here actually for Facebook as well. It's stuff I'm teaching in my MBA degree program. But what you can say during your investment banking interviews, if this is true, is you can say, this is good actually, you can say, with my company, my startup, what I did was I wrote a very, very detailed business plan, including financial modeling. I listed the risks and everything. And it was quite similar actually to an S1, an IPO document. And I enjoyed it so much, the analytical process, that's one of the many reasons why I'd love to work in investment banking, because I see it as a passion, more so than I see it as a job. If it's true, okay? If that's true. Yeah. All right. The next Asamina is saying, I think I should, oh, it's Cyprus. Damn it. I said Malta. I forgot. Sorry. Asamina wrote, I think I should probably mention I'm moving to Cyprus in 2 weeks and I'm already packing. I'm being transferred there. That's awesome. Within Ryanair, the Irish company, I guess you worked at, right? The airline company. That's very cool. Very cool. Nice weather too. I love it. Okay. And then Jay Yang is saying, can you explain the main real world difference between having a master's degree in accounting and a master's in finance? I'm thinking about getting a master's degree. Yeah. So I'll explain the difference between finance and accounting. So accounting is like a science. Okay. It's backwards looking. You have to create these financial statements and be perfect, right? They can't be wrong. They have to be perfect. It's a science. Finance is like an art, because you're creating what you think the financial statements will look like in the future. And you have to be comfortable with uncertainty, like you have a crystal ball. And just know that your numbers will never be right, but directionally, they might be right. And so that's why finance people, when they value companies, they usually use a couple different valuation methodologies to come up with a target price, like discounted cash flow, price to earnings, price to revenue. Because if they're wrong, and wrong they are quite often, if one of these three methodologies is way off, if you take an average of all three target price methodologies, you'll minimize the margin of error by quite a bit. So the bottom line is finance is an art and accounting is a science. Are you an artist or a scientist? All right. And what I would also do is ask yourself why you want that designation, and ask yourself, what job do I want to get in the future? And go to LinkedIn to see if people took those designations and got that job as well. Yeah. Yeah. And check out my MBA degree program if you want on my website, harounventures.com, because I teach accounting and finance in a way that I think is really simplistic and fun as well. And I got a D in accounting the first time I took it at McGill University, because I was memorizing stuff and I didn't enjoy it. But then I conditioned myself to love it, and I started understanding the formulas instead of memorizing them, and I did much, much better. You know, you can do well in high school if you memorize stuff, but once you get to university or the real world, you can't memorize and do well. You got to understand stuff. That way you retain it. Okay. Next up, we got Hari is saying, Chris, and if I skipped any questions in between anybody, please just repost again. Or if I didn't answer a question, put me on the spot. Yeah. Hari is saying, Chris, does any country offer free on-campus MBA courses? If so, how do you get a scholarship? Yeah. So what I would say is, don't ever not apply to a school because of money. Apply, get in, and then look into scholarships. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would do. And I have scholarships for my MBA degree program as well. But I always ask my students, don't mention that you want a scholarship when you write the application to get into my school. After you get in, then you can ask. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And universities are starting to wake up and understand the fact that it's not fair that you might come from a different socioeconomic background and not be able to get an education. So USC, for example, which was University of Southern California, which was tied to this awful admissions scandal with Felicity Huffman, who served time in jail for it. They were bribing, basically, coaches to lie about their kids doing certain things like rowing. But what USC is doing is they're making it free for everybody to attend USC whose parents make less than $80,000. So just get in first, and then figure it out, right? Look into scholarships. And if you can't afford it right away, you might be able to defer acceptance for a while. Don't put your dream on hold because of that, please. And for my MBA degree program, the cost is $500, and that's actually less. That's the same price as literally 1 hour of classes at MBA degree schools. 1 hour. Yeah. So anyway, we're doing our first year. We got like close to 160 students. We'll be done this December. I love my students so much. They're like family to me. And then we'll start the next year, December 14th. I think that's when, yeah, December 14th, 2020 for the next 1 year program. And you can go to my website, harounventures.com, and just read up on that stuff if you're curious. Yeah, thanks. All right, next up is, what's your take on swing trading or positional trading as an income source? Can retail traders stand a chance against algorithm trading? Yeah. I please don't trade. It's a recipe for disaster. More people go bankrupt from trading than most markets. Don't do it, please. What's the name of one successful trader that's been successful in the long run? What's the name of that person? They don't exist. They don't exist for a reason, because if you're trading, you're actually going to be fooled by randomness. I want to get something. Hold on one second. This is a great book written by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. It's kind of hard to read the cover here, but it says "Fooled by Randomness." Okay, the hidden role of chance in the markets and in life. And Taleb basically said that you cannot make money trading because a lot of random stuff occurs that makes you money or loses you money. And I agree with that completely. It's like a casino. You know, you can't make money every month, because every month has 20 weekdays, which means 20 trading days. And stocks go up and down in the near term based on stuff that's random and outside of our control. You know, like saber rattling between two big countries with trade wars or whatever it is. You can't control that. You can't control. And the worst thing that can happen to you is you start day trading and you make money, because then you might get overconfident. It's like going to a casino and you walk in, and first time in your life you put a quarter into a slot machine made by IGN. Wheel of Fortune ones are the most fun. And you win $100. That's the worst thing that can happen to you, because you get confident, overconfident, and think you can do it again. It's chaos. You cannot make money trading. I promise you. You will get burned in the long run. And I teach my MBA students to look at fundamentals first, valuation second, and if you're going to look at technicals, make it a distant third. A distant third, yeah. All right. And Rose saying, yes, Chris, but the CFA updates their curriculum because of which some portion of the content changes a little every year. Yeah, it does, but you can still take those books, use those books I showed you. And you can get the most recent books as well, made by a company called Schweizer, which is owned by Princeton Review, which is owned by the Washington Post, which is now owned by Jeff Bezos. Yeah. All right. Next up, Kunan is saying, what's your take on index funds in the United States versus India, like the S&P versus the Nifty? Yeah. So I love index funds. I want you to all do your research first. But 90% of mutual funds massively underperform index funds. And mutual funds are a loser proposition. You know, the fees are 3 or 4% or even higher. The taxes are brutal because mutual fund portfolio managers tend to turn over their portfolio too fast, which means they pay you have to pay taxes on money made in less than 1 year. And governments globally like to encourage you to be long-term focused because you pay less taxes on stuff that you held for more than 1 year. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what I would say. But I'm sure that they're like in India, it's called the Sensex. That's the index. I'm sure you can buy ETFs that are like, actually, I'm going to find one right now. Let's do this together. Hold on. All right, let's go here to India ETF. Okay, here you go. INDA. So this is MSCI Index ETF. MSCI stands for Morgan Stanley Capital Index. And iShares is a type of index. So if we go here and we look here at the holdings, we'll see which Indian companies they own. Right? So 30% of this index for India is financial services. 15% is tech, and that makes sense. There's a lot of great technology services companies in India. Infosys, Wipro, Tata. There's lots of them. They're great. So let's look at the holdings. Yeah, here we go. So you got Reliance, you got a real estate company. Here's Infosys, which is the technology company I just mentioned. Here's a financial services company. Here's another tech company, Tata, which I mentioned. Yeah, so anyway, and this actually, let's see if we can find the fees as well for this. Where is it? Here it is, expense ratio. So you pay 0.69% fee every year to own this versus mutual funds where you pay 3, 4, 5 or more percent. I'm not telling you to buy this, but definitely take a look at this and do your own research, please, based on the stuff I teach in my finance courses. Thanks. All right. Oh, okay. So Ernesto saying, what's the best way to prepare for the Series 65? So I think the best way is to take my complete financial analyst course on Udemy. I really do. And I think it'll help you tremendously. So all you do is just go here to, just go Udemy, Chris Haroun, financial analyst course. And then you're just, I would just, yeah, here. And I'm going to open it in incognito so that, because I'm already subscribed to that course, but here's the landing page here. Okay. So this course here it's 22 hours long. It'll help you learn everything about finance, and you'll actually rotate through a pretend company I made up. And actually, I recorded this over in the Czech Republic. And I had a little bit too much fun with this here. But I've got this great guy who makes all of my promotional trailers. Oh, sorry, you can hear me talking.
This course here is,
let me go pause this audio.
It'll help you learn everything about finance.
So you can check that out if you want to, guys. Let me just.
Actually,
What you can hear is this. Sorry about that. Yeah, but here it is. Here I recorded this in Prague.
welcome, MHS. Congratulations. MHS stands for Morgan Haroun Sachs, which is the world's #1 pretend finance company. Come with me. You will go through our financial analyst training program bootcamp. Here you will learn a lot about finance and investing with no theory. You will rotate through the many divisions of our firm, and we will discuss how to excel in 14 different financial analyst roles. I will also help you understand which finance role you're most passionate about and how to get hired and promoted in the industry. You will deal with the employees and clients of our firm in edutaining, meaning entertaining, and educational interactive case studies, including how an IPO works, how to manage risk, and how to manage a portfolio. You will create incredible investment research reports that will impress the heck out of anyone in the finance industry. This course is for anyone who wants to be a financial analyst or a better investor, stock picker.
And you'll notice that I had to voice dub it because I was so sick. I was I spent a fortune on this, and I was really sick, and I wasn't going to let it go to waste. And I'm too motivated, whatever. So I had to voice over, which is kind of obvious. Yeah.
Portfolio manager, and more. No prior experience is necessary. It includes a comprehensive Excel template to help guide you through our training program. In addition, I will teach you Excel skills so you can model financial statements and value companies from scratch. This course is based on my many years of experience. I'm an MBA graduate from Columbia University. I've gone through the Global New Hire Financial Analyst Training Program at Goldman Sachs in New York, London, and Tokyo. I've worked for top hedge funds, and I even started my own hedge fund and venture capital firms. This course is more than 22 hours long. This is the most thorough financial analyst and investing course available on the market. The student reviews have been amazing. Welcome to the Haroun Sachs training program. This will be a lot of fun. I'll see you in the morning.
That was fun. We had a blast putting that together, and that was actually done by a dad who's this brilliant man, San Francisco State grad, which is the best school on the planet. Yeah, I went to the Czech Republic to do it, and we recorded 7 or 8 trailers there, and we did one also. If you go to my LinkedIn profile today, whatever, you'll see I posted one that we recorded with my son in it in front of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm doing another one actually this May and June with a dad for my MBA degree program, which is fun. Yeah, they're pricey, but the return on investment is phenomenal. It's great. It pays to advertise. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Next up is so Ernesto. I recommend taking that course of mine. I will help you with a Series 65. And Kunan is saying, if I learn trading on the stock market from a trader who trades in the U.S. market, will help me trade the Indian market, or each and every market different because Indian finance teachers are costly. Yeah. So I don't think you, I really don't recommend trading, please. It doesn't matter what market you're in. You will be fooled by randomness and lose money. I recommend investing and take my complete financial analyst course because that will help you out tremendously. But when it comes to technical analysis, I mean, technical analysis is similar for every type of stock. And so what people look at is, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but here I go. So if we were to look for emphasis here, this is the ADR, meaning the American Depository Receipt version of this stock, which is listed on the Sensex in India. But if we look here, for example, the same things apply. So, for example, this is oversold, the RSI index. This is overbought up here, that sort of thing. The channel formation people look at as well. I think this is all voodoo crap, technical analysis, that is, to be honest. But the same things apply to looking at American stocks. Yeah. And I've invested in pretty much every major economy in the world, a lot in India as well. And the stuff I teach about investing in America is the same thing as investing in India. So take my complete financial analyst course. I think that will help out tremendously. Yeah. And then next up is, what's your take on those people who say we can travel the world forever and not need to work and live out of dividends and rent basically the laptop lifestyle? Are these possible? I do think you can start a company from anywhere. And so my employees, I let them work remotely. I give them the best technology, and they can work anywhere they want. And I believe in having very few employees, but paying them well and having them live their life on their own terms. And so one of my employees, he worked from Brazil for a couple months. That's where he's from Sao Paulo, wonderful city, wonderful country. And our business didn't skip a beat. And also Matt, who's my chief creative officer, who does a lot of the editing, he was in Japan for the past couple of weeks. And I gave him a laptop, and he worked remotely as well. So I think we've witnessed kind of the death of distance since Internet 2.0 has become mainstream, and you can work from anywhere. My wife works for IBM, and she gets to work from home most of the time. You don't need to be in the office all the time. I think Zoom is the best damn invention over the past couple of years, and YouTube as well. We're doing this call. It's costing all of you nothing to be on this call. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I think you can, if you start your own company, work from anywhere and have the flexibility to work from anywhere. So for my complete financial analyst course, actually, I wrote a lot of that in Paris. I went with my family. during the summer of 2017. We went to Israel and then Paris, and we rented this great place in Paris in the Latin Quarter. I wrote most of that course, the Complete Financial Analyst course, actually in Israel and also in Paris, mainly Paris. Yeah, you can work from anywhere. My complete YouTube course, I wrote a lot of it and edited a lot of it from Barcelona last summer. It doesn't matter where you are. I've written my courses all over the world, but I am self-employed. And if you're self-employed as well, you can live your life in your own terms. And that's what I want to humbly help you to do if I can possibly. And even if you work at large companies, a lot of great big companies let you work from anywhere. So lifestyle's a big deal for me. But if you start your own company, you can live your life in your own terms as well if you're successful. But don't start your own company until you write a business plan first, because failing to plan is planning to fail. And you can write my complete business plan course, or you can take my complete business plan course, which will help you write a business plan. And if during that course, you're a quarter of the way through the course and you're writing your business plan, you realize that your business plan is not great, then I've done my job because I've saved you money and heartache and pain. But if you take the course again and you write another business plan that makes you very successful, then I've done my job as well, because you'll be living your life in your own terms by running your company remotely from anywhere. And you can take that course also if you work in a large company, because you can be intrapreneurial in a big company and start a new division as well, and help that company's revenues to grow materially. But I think I think we can all work remotely for at least a couple days a week. And what my wife does actually, and a lot of big companies will let you do, is they'll let you work from abroad for part of the year if you ask. If you're really good at what you do, you can get away with that for sure. You can ask. And so what we actually did was Airbnb. We got a place in New York for a while. My wife got to work from New York. We got to live there as well. I used to live in New York for years. I got to show my kids the Upper East Side where I used to live, and when I went to Columbia up there on the Upper West Side, whatever. But you can do a house exchange. You can let somebody get your house or apartment and trade and go to their house or apartment. There's websites that allow you to do that, so you can work for a couple of weeks or a month or two remotely. And it's a wonderful thing because it makes you more worldly. I always believe in buying experiences and not things. But no, travel is a wonderful thing, and it'll also clear your mind. And it's kind of like it's like going to the spa working overseas. It kind of makes you, I don't know, appreciate things, let you reflect on life, and you feel rejuvenated and refreshed as well. I think everybody should work abroad for at least a couple of weeks every single year. And you can do it for a very, very low pricing point by doing a house exchange or apartment exchange. Ask your boss if you work for somebody, if you can do that. I'm sure they'll say yes. Yeah. All right, next one is Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Good morning to you too. You wrote, I would like your opinion on Friedman's shareholder doctrine. Thank you. I don't know what that means. Give me 1 second. What I'm going to do is very quickly, I'm going to do a search, and I'm going to let you all see what I see here. So I'll go up here, Google it. What is this? The Friedman doctrine, or shareholder theory, is normative theory of business ethics advanced by, Milton Friedman. Yeah. So he's a big economist, which holds that a firm's main responsibility to its shareholders. Yeah, I'd have to look into this. I know who Milton Friedman is. He's an economist. And usually when it comes to economists, I don't usually look at them too closely because there's a famous quote, which is, economists have successfully predicted 7 of the last 43 recessions. It's more theory. So I'm not the guy to ask about theory because I don't think that supply and demand graphs and all this stuff is really used in the real world unless you want to work for the Bank of England or whatever, Minister of Finance, whatever it might be. And so the way I teach is less theoretical, but I'll give you an answer here. Okay. He argues that a company has no social responsibility to the public or society. It's only responsible to shareholders. Yeah. So I completely disagree with that. And I think every company has a social responsibility to try to make the world a better place, and every person as well. My goal is to, make the world a better place, at least a better place than when I entered it, when I leave this world, so to speak. That's a little out there, I know. But I really believe in what Mark Benioff preaches, which is social responsibility in his company, Salesforce. And when I used to work at Goldman Sachs, we had to do what's called community teamworks, which is 1 or 2 days a year. We all had to, work to we all had to do charity work, like Habitat for Humanity, or building houses for those that can't afford them, or putting computers in poor schools up in Harlem, which is what I did when I worked there. It was fun. I loved it. And so I think that there is a big social responsibility that all big companies have. It's kind of like entrepreneurs that make, billions. With great power comes great responsibility. You have to do your part to make the world a better place. Make your mark as well. Leave some sort of legacy. No, I think Friedman is wrong. I don't agree with him. I really do think that you have to try to make the world a better place and be socially responsible at the same time while you're trying to generate profits. Yeah. All right. And Kunan is saying, right now I'm 19 and I'm investing small amounts per month in index funds since I was 18. What type of investments do you suggest me to do? And you wrote, I asked one person, he said the money I can afford to lose, he said to swing trade. Yeah. So I would say don't trade at all. And whoever that person told you to swing trade, I humbly believe you shouldn't listen to them. Don't trade, because you'll be fooled by randomness. And the reason I know it doesn't make sense to trade is because there's no successful trader out there. Otherwise, you know their name. So please don't trade. Just be long-term focused, do your research, take my complete financial analyst course, or join me in my MBA degree program if you want, and I'll teach you how to be a great investor. And I'll never tell you what to buy. I don't believe in giving you a fish. Now, I say it with love in my heart. I believe in teaching you how to fish so you can eat for the rest of your life, so to speak. Yeah. And don't ever take anyone's opinion on any stocks, myself included. Always do your own research. That way you won't freak out when the market is selling off and panic sell. Yeah. And just be long-term focused, always, yeah. But take my complete financial analyst course. That will help a lot too. Okay, and yes, I do cover trading and technical analysis in it, but just a tiny part because there's demand for it. Yeah, and also there's no shame in looking at the technicals a little bit if you want to take some profit in a position you've held for years. Yeah. Or technicals can kind of help you decide when to start a position, so to speak, after you've done your fundamental and valuation-based research. Yeah. So do fundamental analysis first, look at valuation second, and then a distant third, way down here on the floor, you can't see it, is technical analysis. All right. And Anjali is saying, hi, Chris. Hey, I want to start business, but I don't have a fund. Is it suggested I'm working, but I will to work? Yeah. So if you want to start your own company, I recommend taking my complete business plan course, which you can find on Udemy. It'll help you because planning to fail is failing to plan is planning to fail. And that will help you out. And it's a low pricing point. And there's a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee as well. That's what I would say. But I can also teach you how to raise money from high net worth investors. But we'll talk about that later once you take the complete business plan course, if you want to, that is, yeah. Okay. And I'm smiling because I saw Steve, and I'm going to get there in a second, Steve, but Ratchet is saying, how can I learn finance taught in MBA classes for free from a book online? Yeah. I don't know for free. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's the resource out there on YouTube you can do a search on for free. Yeah. And then Steve is saying banana watch only. And I'm smiling because I think that was an excerpt from my MBA degree my course called An Entire MBA in One Course. It's been years since I remember that. But it's funny because I actually teach a lot of my students in my MBA degree program finance by using banana as a prop. And the way I teach it is whenever you look at fractions, you look at math, for the rest of your life, I want you to think of 1 on the denominator. So an example I gave was this. I actually brought a blender and a couple cups into my MBA degree program. And my MBA students liked it, I think, or they laughed at me, not with me. I don't know. But the way I taught it was, I said, how many milkshakes does this one banana make? And so in a formula, the denominator is one banana. And I put it into a milkshake with milk, whatever. And I found that when I poured it into cups, it made 3 glasses, 3 milkshakes. So for every one banana, which is on the denominator, it made 3 milkshakes on the numerator. Why are you mentioning this, Chris? What does this have to do with finance and accounting stuff or business? Because if you look at a price earnings ratio, it's price divided by earnings, which means for every $1 or one banana, for every $1 on the denominator, how many times are people paying that $1 to invest in that company? Price earnings. Or you can look at net profit margin, right? Which means for every $1 in revenue, how many pennies of net income or net profit are you getting from this investment, for example? So for every one banana on the denominator, you made 3 milkshakes on the numerator. So anyway, it's kind of a fun way to teach it. But thanks for bringing up the banana thing. And what movie is this from? I Ain't Falling for No Banana in the Tailpipe. It's a great movie. And I am dating myself yet again. And Jolly's saying, how are you? I'm great, thank you. I hope you're doing well. I want to start a business, but I don't have... Oh, you pasted the same question twice. Yeah. Okay, so I'll skip that one because you pasted it twice. Okay, so you want to start a company. Yeah, so just take my complete business plan course. And then if you want to raise money, what you can do, actually, to understand how to raise money, every year the French embassy, they call me to do a presentation to the HEC MBA class from Paris. And I did one a year or two ago here on how to raise money. It was an hour-long presentation. So just go to my YouTube channel. I'll show you where, actually. I'll paste it here for you. It'll teach you how to raise money. Don't use your own money if you don't have much, please. I don't want you to put yourself at risk or stress yourself out, or your family for that matter. You can actually get people to invest in your company if you network a lot. And I teach you how to raise money. You just go here, raise money, I think. Yeah, hold on. Here it is here. How to raise money from venture capitalists or high net worth. And this is just a presentation I gave to HEC MBA class. So let me just paste this for you right here, and you can check it out. Okay, there you go. Thank you. All right. Next question I've got is from Ratchet, who's saying, hey, I'm trying consuming much green vegetables daily. My father, I do the same thing. Yeah. My father is 58. He reduced his cholesterol levels. I'm following the same pattern too. And you wrote you're 29 here. Yeah, I've tried like everything, dude. Like I've tried to biohack a gazillion different ways, and it doesn't matter for me because, and I do eat healthy. I try at least. It doesn't matter for me because of genetics. So yeah, I'll show you what I take. Give me 1 second. Okay. You guys have, again, no idea how messy my floor is. I look like I'm neat and organized. I'm not. But this is what I take right here. And this is prescribed by a doctor. Okay. This is simvastatin, 20 milligrams. Take 1 tablet at bedtime. So that's it right there. It's kind of like Lipitor, cheaper. It's generic. And there are side effects though. Which is it can hurt your liver if you drink, and I don't drink. Yeah. All right. All right, next up is Emma, who's saying, I'm a university professor that just put in my resignation. I want to make a true impact in accessible healthcare education and affordable medical devices in low-resource countries. I'm thinking about enrolling in your business school. Where should I start? I've already done your MBA and business plan course, already have a company started, but it's not profitable. Yeah, thank you for your interest. I appreciate it. So if you want to apply to the MBA degree program, all you do is you go here to Haroun Education or Haroun Ventures. There's millions of URL forwards here. And then what you do is you go to up here, the MBA program. Okay. And this will tell you everything you need to know. Okay. There's a very long FAQ. Okay. And if you've taken my Udemy courses and you submit certificate of completions, you get discounts and all that great stuff. But the next class starts December 14th. Yeah. December 14th. Okay. And yes, there's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. Yeah. So check that out if you want to, please. Yeah. And you also mentioned, well, you're a teacher. What I would do is I would also look into teaching online on Udemy, for example. And I don't get any brownie points, whatever, for mentioning Udemy. It's an algorithm anyway, the way it works there. But what I do actually is I've created a couple of free courses for you. And you can go to my Udemy profile, Udemy Chris Haroun. Can't even spell my own name. You see that? And yeah, just search my name and you'll find it here. And I'll open this in incognito so you can see my courses. And so I've got a bunch of courses. Let's see here, like 51 of them. What I recommend doing is I have a couple courses that are free on how to teach online. And I've done them in lots of languages as well. I don't speak those languages. I have enough problem with English, but I had to translate it. But yeah, start with this one here. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll copy this. This is 40 tips on making a great online course based on 40 mistakes I've made, teaching online. You know, as Michael Jordan says, I've failed over and over and over again. That's why I succeed. Well, Michael Jordan succeeds. I don't. So that's that one. And after you take that, and it's in tons of languages, whatever. After you take that one, then there's another one, which is based on 40 more mistakes I've made teaching online so you can work smarter and not harder. It's called Another 40 Tips. I don't know what to call it. I'm not very creative, so I call it Another 40 Tips. And I'll copy this link address and I'll paste it for you here as well. So that will get you started. Everybody has something to teach. Again, when one teaches, two learn. And there's my Michael Jordan poster up there. It says, I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. Bonus points to whoever tells me the name of these two albums right here. You have to say the name of it. You get a free course of mine. Just type in your answer, and then you pick any course you want, and I'll send you a free code. It's fun. Why not? All right. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, but Emma, I think what you can do is you can teach education, or you can teach healthcare stuff online, healthcare ed tech. And the way for you, Emma, to be #1 in the world in that is just to opine a lot or give your opinion a lot on that topic. Vlog a lot. You know, take my complete YouTube course. We'll teach you how to vlog or whatever. And I've made a lot of mistakes vlogging. So learn from my mistakes always, because when one teaches, two learn. Or what you can do is just write once a week or whatever it is on LinkedIn. And the more you write about it, it becomes self-fulfilling. People are like, oh, Emma's she's the expert in this area. That's right. She writes a lot about this. So when they think of Emma, they'll think of healthcare education expert, that sort of thing. But start teaching online if you can. You already have everything you need to build something bigger than yourself, to quote Seth Godin. You've got an Android handset or an iPhone, and that's enough to get you started. Yeah. All right. Next, Gregory is saying, hello, Chris, in the house. Welcome. And I love when I see your name, Gregory, because I always think of that guy. I'm sorry I'm a broken record player. I say this every week, but I always think of that guy from the TV show Succession, whose name is Gregory. He's British in real life, but he's American in the show. He's a funny guy. And I love that show. I love business, fictional television shows and movies as well. And that's my favorite one now. There's that. There's also Black Monday, which I love, which is season 2 is coming in March soon. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Talks about the excesses of the 90s. Okay. And then Kundan is saying, actually, it's quite funny and good altogether. I wanted to start my company while preparing for an investment banking job. And I always wanted to be, but anyway, I found out my hostel owner is a VC, my roommates. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Very cool. All right. Yeah. And yeah, ask the hostel owner then about venture capital and for advice on how to get into the investment banking industry. And you can always read my book, my free book on how to network to get a job or anything you want in life. Just go to my webpage, harounventures.com. All right, next up, Gregory is saying, Chris, what is your opinion on the COVID-19 virus and the global economy? Yeah. So I don't, I'm not a health expert. I don't really, I don't know. It's very tragic what's happening. And my mom sent a text to all of us to get to buy masks just in case. I have them here anyway. I've had masks in my house for years. What I do with my kids actually is when one of my kids gets sick, everybody gets sick, right? It's brutal. So when one of my kids gets sick, what I do is when I'm cooking them breakfast or lunch, whatever in the kitchen, I have those plastic disposable things, gloves, and that makes sure I don't catch it, whatever. And when I go to see my parents, as of a couple of years ago, I started doing this. If I'm sick, then when I go to see them, because they're older, I have those masks that I wear as well. And I got the idea from visiting Japan, as a lot of wonderful people do that in Japan. But I asked my doctor, actually. I went to my doctor years ago, and I said, Doctor, why is it that you're always around sick people? Why aren't you sick all the time? And she said, well, it's pretty easy, Chris. Two things. Number one, I wash my hands a lot. Number two, I never touch my face. The second you touch your face, here, or wherever it is, you can get sick. You can get sick if you're around sick people. So wash your hands a lot. That's what she told me. But it is tragic what's happening. I don't know. I don't know what the outcome is going to be. What I do know is that I always have, no matter what, there are certain stocks that are on my watch list that I buy if they fall in price. So I always, yeah. I'm very long-term focused though. Very, very long-term focused. Yeah. But it is tragic. Like I know that Mobile World Congress was canceled this year, which is, it's the annual mobile conference, most important conference of the year. And it's in Barcelona every year. It's an amazing conference. It's kind of like Comdex for, or Consumer Electronics Show, I should say, CES, for the mobile industry. And Amazon and Sony announced that they weren't going, and so everybody ended up canceling it. So it's tragic. It's tragic, yeah. Okay. And Jolly is saying, I've got another question. I have work experience of 10 years, and I'm now feeling 10 years could have been utilized better in business. So what would you suggest on this? So I would just say, just write a business plan. Like take my complete business plan course and write a business plan. Most people don't write a business plan when they start a company, which is ridiculous. It's the most important career decision you'll ever make. If you don't choose wisely or write a good business plan, it can ruin your life. It can ruin your life. And so you got to write a business plan. So please check out my complete business plan course. Thank you. Depeche is saying, hey, Chris, big fan of you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I knew there was one person out there. My question for you is that many people recognize the problem and some also find its solution, but they never start towards it. Please give your insights. Yeah. A lot of people are talk. Yeah. So what I would say is that like a lot of people give up on their New Year's resolution by the third week of January, over 90% of people. And the reason is because they don't set a deadline date. So whenever you have a solution for a problem or a goal in mind, set a deadline date. Otherwise, it just becomes a dream and nothing more. Yeah. And one other thing I recommend doing is vocalizing your goals. Tell people you're writing a book. Tell them the deadline date as well, because every time you see them, they'll ask you, how's that book coming along? Have you finished it yet? Which happened to me. And so you got to set a deadline date and vocalize it. You got to tell the world about your goals, because that way you'll make them come true. And James Cameron, the brilliant Canadian director, producer, writer of Avatar and Terminator 2, in Titanic. He said, set your goals so high so that if you fail above everybody else's expectations. The bottom line is vocalize your goals and set a deadline date. All right. And Melody is saying, Chris, my oldest son, and I remember it was October 31st, 2019 at 4 p.m. I remember I met him with you on your Zoom call because that was my record call. We did 9.5 hours, 9.5 hours. And you were on the Zoom call. I remember that day. And then it was Halloween. And then I vlogged. Oh my God, what a long day. But it was fun. I love it. I don't have a job. I have a passion. And your son, I remember, he was very respectful. He said, hi, Mr. Haroun. And he pronounced my name correctly, too, which was awesome. So most people don't. I usually get, when we were younger, we used to go to dinner as a family, and they'd page us. They'd say, heroin party of 6. Heroin party of 6. So anyway. Yeah. So you wrote, Chris, my oldest son wants to refine his skills in sales and become a real estate agent when he graduates school. Do you have any materials you can recommend for him to read, to do, or prepare for his career? You can have him join us in our MBA degree program. I think you mentioned that you were thinking of taking it. No pressure at all, please. But you can do it with him. Bring him on as well. Why not? Both of you can do it. We have one student that's 17. He's awesome. He's awesome. From Morocco, I think originally, yeah, or maybe it's Algeria. I think it's Morocco. Yeah. But join us because I do teach you how to sell. Yeah. That's right. That's what I recommend. Take it with, or have him just read my networking book, which you can go to my website and get, harounventures.com, or have him take my complete presentation course. Yeah. But I think start with the free networking book. That's probably a good way to go. And Himanshu is saying turmeric milk is great too. A great antibiotic for health. Thank you. Thank you. And one other person mentioned that to me recently too. Thanks. All right. Charlie is saying, I hope everyone has a great day. I got to go to the office. See you next week. Take care, bud. I'll see you, Charlie. My best friend growing up, his name was Sohail. He's Pakistani. And I would go to dinner with his family. And his mom made the best naan bread, I remember. And I remember every time I would leave the house, Sohail's mom and dad, Yusuf, would say, go to office. And I didn't know what that meant. I thought that meant going to the office. And I politely say, go to office as well. That actually means goodbye. It's a pleasant greeting in Pakistani. Yeah, it's great. So have fun going to the office. Thanks. I'll see you next week, Charlie. And then Melody's saying, Chris, that was exactly what I did. I went for a walk, and the walk helped me solve a problem. I was looming over this for an hour, solved it in a 15-minute walk. Yeah. The best medicine for this is treating this well. If you treat this well, this works gooder. Yeah. Okay. And Greg said, that's a great story, Chris. Don't be the gazelle. It's so true, man. So true. And Baha'i Gamer, every time I see your name there, every week, I always think of Haifa in northern Israel, where we went to visit Christine's relatives. And they live right by the Baha'i Gardens. I think that's what it's called, in Haifa. Beautiful city. Yeah. And so Christine, my wife, what happened was she's half Greek. 100 years ago, or whatever it was, in Greece, there was this awful volcanic explosion. Volcano erupted in Santorini, beautiful island. And Christine's family is from there originally. And so a bunch of them passed away. And what happened was they got on a boat during the volcanic eruption, and they didn't know what the heck to do. So they went into the Mediterranean on this boat, and they ended up somehow in northern Israel. In Haifa, and so that's why my wife Christine, her family's there. And actually, for those of you that have been to Israel, there's a really famous restaurant called Abu Christo, which is son of Christoph, and that's her family's restaurant. It's great Greek food. I love Greek food. It's the best. Yeah, tzatziki tastes good on everything. It beats the heck out of hummus. And I'm Arabic, and I'm saying, dude, hummus sucks compared to tzatziki. I don't know why it's spelled TZ whatever, but it's the best. So Baha'i Gamer is saying Twitch isn't a very big option, Chris. Here in India, almost very few people watch Twitch or even know about it. Twitch doesn't even have its partnership program here, nor does it have its subscriptions. Then try to get an international company that knows Twitch well to be able to sponsor you. And you can even do this. So do a search on Ninja, who plays Fortnite, and he just signed an exclusive contract with Microsoft. I think it was a $10 million contract. Just use Microsoft's version of Twitch. Whatever that product is called, and I don't know the name to be honest, but contact Microsoft in India to see if you can get sponsored as well. Yeah. You got to ask. Yeah. Worst thing it can say is no or not respond. Okay. All right, hold on a second. Yeah, so, and Jolly is asking a lot of questions about what to do business-wise longer term. I would just, and Jolly, the best thing I can recommend is go on a long walk by yourself and bring a notebook. Don't bring any technology stuff, no cell phone. And sit on a park bench. Make it like a 10-hour walk. And write down your goals as you sit down on a park bench or as you stop to get some tea or coffee, whatever it is. Write your 10-year goals. And once you finish that walk and you set in stone what your perfect life is in 10 years, then work on filling that gap. That's what I recommend. And if you want, you can share with me your 10-year goals, and I'll humbly do my best to help you think about how to crystallize your thought process so that you can make those 10-year goals become a reality. In fact, with my MBA degree program, the essay that students have to write to get in is they have to write what's their perfect life in 10 years, because I want to humbly do whatever I can during this program and after this MBA program, if I can, do whatever it takes to help my students reach their 10-year goals. And for me, it's not about the money. Yeah. In fact, I'm not making money in this MBA program. I just don't care. I make money in other ways too, like my Udemy courses, whatever. It's just fun. Yeah. The second it becomes about money, all this stuff, is the second that nobody should ever take any courses of mine. Yeah. If you do it for the money, if you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. If you chase your dreams and you're cool with failure, and you got to be cool with failure, I failed a lot, then not only do your dreams come true in the long run, but the money follows accidentally. It always does. It always does. Nobody that's ever been extraordinarily successful does it just for the money. Yeah. All right. And Kunan is saying, Chris, what's your take on Indian students? Many of these American company CEOs are Indian who studied their MBA in the US, but the problem is it costs a lot for a middle-class Indian student like me. Yeah. I mean, I think that anybody can get access to great education online now. You know, you don't have to have a big university, you know, put a rubber stamp and say that you're credible because you attended that school. You know, a lot of people that are CEOs don't even have high school educations. They can network though. You know, for example, there's so many great examples. Like the former president of Cosmopolitan magazine, you know, she did not have an education. You know, neither does, you know, Bill Gates dropped out. Steve Jobs dropped out. Mark Zuckerberg dropped out. The former president of ESPN started in the mailroom. You know, Simon Cowell from American Idol, he started in the mailroom. David Geffen, who's done wonderful things, started in the mailroom as well. So many people, and it's Sidney Weinberg, who is the CEO of Goldman for decades. He started in the mailroom as well. Why do I mention mailroom? Because these people can network. You know, they understand relationships are more important than product knowledge. So don't ever believe that you need a big university like a Harvard to basically say that you're credible to the world. You know, credibility is all up here. You know, it's like the Rodin sculpture. I think, therefore I am. Or as Henry Ford said best, whether or not you think you can do it, you're right. But I would bet on you over somebody from HBS. 2/3 of HBS is BS, that's right. I bet on you if you network a lot. Because I think you can network a lot and run circles around anybody from any top MBA degree program or top university. You know, it's like in England with Oxford and Cambridge. Oxford and Cambridge. A lot of people get into those schools because their parents went there. So does that mean they're better than us? No. It just means their parents went there. You know, does that mean that society respects them more? Maybe initially, but it's bullshit. If you network a lot and you're not entitled like that, then you can accomplish great things. You don't need a university to make a piece of paper to say that you're money and you're worth it and you're credible to the rest of the world. All you have to do is tell yourself that you are credible, you know, you are money, and you don't give a damn what people think of you. You know, you got to be confident. A lot of people go to these great universities and they graduate and they're more successful because they became more confident. It's bullshit. You don't need a big university with a big brand name to be able to tell you that you're more confident. A lot of the stuff that's taught in school is irrelevant anyway. And this is what drives me. Like, business schools don't teach you the most important lessons in life. Like how to write a resume, how to interview, how to sell, how to network, how to manage your personal finances. They'll tell you how to manage other people's money, but not your own. How to present. So I don't think you need to get a degree from a very expensive school to help you reach your full potential in life. In fact, I think sometimes people go to those schools and they become lazy because they're like, well, I'm entitled now and the whole world is my oyster and they should answer to me because I have a degree from Harvard. Total bullshit. I don't think that's the case. I think success and perceived success and confidence comes from what you think of yourself up here. You just got to tell yourself, I don't care. You know, I don't care that other people might have a degree from a great school. And by the way, a lot of people got into these Ivy League schools, a lot of them, because their parents went there or their parents paid for them to get in. It's bullshit. I'm sorry I'm swearing so much today, but it drives me nuts. It bothers me that society is like this. You know, and it's like a lot of really rich people in life, really wealthy people. Eventually they get caught for something. You know, maybe they're older in their 60s or 70s. And they go to jail. And you got to think to yourself, why would they do that? They have all that money anyway. Oh, it's because they were probably breaking the law their entire lives, but they never got caught. By the same token, why is it that a lot of very, very wealthy people, their kids go to these great universities? Is it because of that wealth? The kids are born smarter? No. No. The problem is that I think the system is rigged. I'm not a conspiracy guy, right? And I do respect education. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. But I think the system is so rigged to the extent that a lot of people that get into these great schools, it's just because their parents went there or a relative or their parents made a big donation or whatever it is. And the only legal way to make a donation to a school, I think, is to have a building named after you or something, which is basically a bribe anyway. You know, we've seen it with Felicity Huffman and that woman that used to be on Full House. I can't remember her name now, but they're serving time in jail. And just think about how many extraordinarily wealthy people, their kids went to these great schools that also they bribed. They bribed the schools, whatever it is. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. And I really think that my kids are maybe the last generation that feel that they have to go to university. I don't think somebody with a university degree is more credible than somebody without one. All that matters is your last game. You know, if you network a lot, you can get any job that any Ivy League schmuck has if you network a lot. Right? And I know I'm being kind of emotional about this, but it really, really bugs me how the system is globally. You know, where really wealthy people are allowed to send their kids to these great universities. It kills me. It kills me. So I was really upset with USC after that entire admissions scandal. But they've done the right thing, which is they announced recently that anybody who gets into the school whose parents make less than 80 grand combined gets a full scholarship. That's great. That's great. But I don't think you need to go to university to reach your full potential in life. I think you can retool online. I think you can learn a lot of skills online. I really do. You want to learn, you're older and you want to learn how to code, or you're younger, you want to learn how to code, go to udemy.com. Take courses from Angela Yu or Rob Percival. You know, you can learn from them and immediately apply those skills in the real world. You know, university can cost $100,000 and there's 13 hours of class a week, which is moronic, right? You waste 4 years of your life. I mean, it's fun from a social perspective. Maybe in the future, university will only be 2 years, undergraduate degrees, and not 4. And they'll be supplemented by online stuff. But you spend 4 years, you go to these schools, you have $100,000 in debt or whatever it is, and you haven't really learned any tangible skills anyway that you can apply in the real world. That's why I'm a big proponent for online education. I think that's the answer. So for those of you that feel that you're at a disadvantage because you didn't go to a big brand name school, just take courses online. It's better anyway, because those courses are more current and up to date versus universities, which have antiquated curriculums from decades ago. Universities have not kept up with the times. Online education has. So retool online if you can, please, because that will set you apart from the competition. And whether or not you think you can do it, you're right, as Henry Ford said. There's no limits to what you can achieve, except the limits for which you set yourself. All right. And Ratchet is saying COVID-19 has really impacted the economy much on a negative note. COVID is coming up on other locations than China. Networking with people in person can make it more likely to spread disease. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And I actually have I have one student, one of my awesome, amazing students. Her name is Stella, and she's in my MBA degree program. She's awesome. She's the best. She's brilliant. She's got everything going for her in life. And as an exercise during the MBA program, I told all my students, you have to go out and do one informational meeting per week. And she's in South Korea. She's in Seoul. And she said it's really hard just given what's going on right now. And it's tough. It's tough. So I'm trying to think of a way that she can, and we can all network online using Zoom or Skype or whatever it is. So I'm kind of working on that right now. But I hear you that it's tougher to network. Yeah. And my parents had this, my parents are retired. My dad just retired, actually. And they had this cruise booked all around the world in certain places. And my dad, I remember he was talking to me about it. He's like, maybe I'll cancel the cruise. And he said, if I cancel, I don't get my money back. And so he didn't cancel. He just waited and waited and waited. And eventually the cruise line canceled the cruise and gave everyone their money back, or credits, that sort of thing. Yeah. All right, Phil. Oh, dude, Phil Germany in the house. Phil, I've got your book right here, dude. Phil was the first one to write a book of my students using my templates. Right. So here's Phil's book. Phil, proud of you, buddy. You were the first. You're the first, and all my MBA degree students are gonna have it. I think you signed up for next year's MBA program. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. But all my students in my MBA degree program have to write this because I want to fill up my bookshelf with all these things. And Phil, it's tradition for me to say this. As you know, since day one, when I first saw your name, I always say, I want to thank Germany for Hans Zimmer, who that's my favorite composer, who made the soundtrack for Interstellar, which, oh my God, it's amazing, that soundtrack. You got to listen to it. Interstellar soundtrack. It'll put your mind at ease. It puts me in this creative trance. I love it. But Phil, always great to see you. You are one of my great super students. How prophetic. I love it. Thank you for that. All right. So Phil is saying, good morning, Chris. I know you're a big baseball fan like me. I didn't know that. What's your team, dude? Let me see if you wrote it in your biography where you're from in the back here. So this is the biography Phil put in the back, and he's smart because he left enough room for the barcode as well, which you have to do. Okay, let me see. So Phil is talking about chess. Oh, you said so. Phil J. Germany II is an entrepreneur and engineer who has a passion for education, fitness, and learning. He's based in Ohio. Okay, so if you're a baseball fan, Cleveland, is Cleveland your team? Let me know. I'm really curious. I'm really curious. Yeah. Let me know. Or is it Cincinnati, the big red machine? Yeah. Sports is great boardroom talk too. When you find out where someone's from, You can just chit chat, network, and talk about that. So let me know your team, dude, please. So Phil is saying, good morning, Chris. I know you're a big baseball fan like me. What are your thoughts on the Astros cheating mess? Do you think the players should have been severely punished? I do. I think they should be expelled from baseball forever. You know, kind of like the Black Sox. So for those who are not familiar with the Black Sox, I think it was 1917. And they made a movie about it called 8 Men Out with Charlie Sheen. And what happened was that scandal, you had this amazing baseball player named Shoeless Joe. And I'm going to show you more about this right now. Shoeless Joe Jackson, who's the best baseball player in history, a lot of people believe. And what happened was he was kicked out of baseball forever. It's the Chicago White Sox. They call it Black Sox, all right? So the Black Sox scandal. So here it is here. It was actually 1919. I'm wrong. So yeah, they all together, they threw games, right? They intentionally lost the 1919 World Series against the Cincinnati Red in exchange for money from a gambling syndicate. So yeah, and Shoeless Joe is one of them. They're all kicked out of baseball forever. And here they are here. Yeah. And I think the same thing should happen to those Houston Astros players. You know, the owner of the Houston Astros did the right thing by firing the manager and the general manager right away. But I think what's got to happen is that Manfred, the CEO of baseball, commissioner, has got to get a couple players and just make examples out of them, kick them out of the game completely forever. And for those who are not familiar with what happens is the Houston Astros, a great baseball team in the great state of Texas, who won a World Series, and they had a 660 winning percentage last year, which is amazing in 2019, in case you're watching a replay years from now. But what they did was that they actually they had a camera in center field. My Apple Watch is going nuts. Let me just turn it off. Sorry. They had a camera in center field that would find out what the next pitch is going to be. Right? They'd monitor what the catcher would show between their legs to signal to the pitcher. And whenever the pitch was going to be an off-speed pitch, which means a slower pitch, somebody in the dugout who had access to that camera close to the field would hit a trash can and yell, "Hey, kid." And the player from Houston would know that a slow pitch is coming, an off-speed pitch. For those of you that play baseball or cricket even, imagine if I told you there's going to be a really slow pitch to you. I mean, you'd be able to hit a 6 in cricket or a home run in baseball or double or whatever it is. And so anyway, they did that. And a lot of players were aware of this. I think they should all be kicked out of baseball forever, because I think that cheating in baseball and in sports using technology is going to become a much bigger issue, So they didn't gamble, unlike Pete Rose. Speaking of Ohio, the great state of Ohio, where you're from, he was the manager for Cincinnati Reds. But I really think they should be kicked out. And the rest of baseball players are furious about it. And usually baseball players are unionized and they stick together, you know. And there's a players union as well that's very powerful from an arbitration and salary perspective. But a lot of great players that I respect a lot, like Aaron Judge, who plays for New York Yankees, and Mike Trout even, a lot of them have indirectly or directly said the punishment's got to be more severe. So I really think a lot of these players should be banned for life. You got to set a precedent. Yeah. Otherwise, you're basically saying it's okay to cheat. And I think that they should be stripped of the World Series that they won a couple of years ago. Yeah. It's kind of harsh, but you got to set a precedent, because right now the precedent is basically saying it's okay to cheat. If you get caught, yeah, whatever, just, you know, but just, it's okay to cheat. That's basically what I'm reading between the lines. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Greg, you're saying, Chris, under your desk, it's like the cavern of Alibaba. Yeah, dude, it is crazy. It is. I got a lot of stuff here, except there's no lamp. There's no lamp. I should probably get one of those. Yeah. I got a lot of props for my courses. And what we're talking about in the MBA degree program is ethics, actually. And I'll show you this. This is what I'm talking about next week. So this here is a great movie you guys should see with Robert De Niro called The Wizard of Lies. And it talks about the Madoff scandal. And his name was Bernard Madoff. Madoff. We should have known. His name was Madoff. Get it? Because he made dad humor? No? Okay. But we're talking about that. And I even bought on eBay some actual phony certificates of stock transactions dated from 1995 for a certain client whose name is blacked out. But we talk about risk management, portfolio management, portfolio diversification, and doing due diligence in an upcoming class. So I've got all that stuff here. Speaking of baseball, and Phil, you'll like this. This is another prop I have for something else I'm talking about with my MBA students. This is a rookie Roger Clemens card, okay, from 1985. Speaking of cheaters, yeah. And so he was caught doing steroids, and so was Barry Bonds as well. Yeah. I think Bond's a good guy, though. Really good guy. I met him actually out here. And a friend of mine who is the largest owner of the San Francisco Giants, his mother-in-law, Sue Burns, passed away, I think it was in 2009 or 10. It was really, really sad, 2009. And what people don't understand about Barry Bonds is that he was at the hospital every day for her. Just a good guy. But people think, when they think of Bonds, they think of somebody that's negative towards the media. He was negative towards the media because the media treated his dad really poorly, and I'm on Barry's side. Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah. All right. Next up, Ratcha is saying you can try Pav Bhaji as well. Okay, first supplement. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, Asmina is saying yes. Within the company, people seem TikTok. They use, yeah. TikTok's a big deal. And then Aisawi is saying, hey, Chris, I hope all is well. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus and its short and long-term impact on the economy and public equities? Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I addressed that a little bit earlier, but I'm not a health expert by any means. Yeah. Thanks. And Himanshu is saying, I also love Greek food and sweets from Greece as well. So do I. They're good. And the cookies actually that Christine's mom makes, Christine, my wife's mom is from, is Greek. We call her Yaya. Actually, Yaya. I was corrected. It's Yaya. That's grandma. And every Christmas she'll make these cookies, and she'll use actually. I just happen to have a fork here. She'll use a fork around the cookie for the crown. She uses this crown and put sprinkles. It's really good. I love it. It's good. Almost as good as baklava. Baklava is Arabic. I think that's better, though. Yeah. Okay. And Kundan is saying, Chris, would you say the safest and best investment is an index fund for holding lifelong? Because I'm planning to hold it till 50 or 60 years of age, and I'm 19. Good for you. Now, and I started when I was 18. Good for you. Yeah. So I would say that you can invest in more risky investments as well because you're younger. And the old rule, and I'll never tell you which stocks. I want to teach you how to fish instead of giving you a fish you can eat for a lifetime. But a lot of Bible references today. It's good. But so the rule of thumb used to be that you take 100 minus your age. And 100 minus your age is the percent of assets that you own or investments that should be risky. So, for example, you're 19. 100 minus 19 is 81. So 81% of your investment should be in a little bit more riskier investments. If you're 90 years old, 100 minus 90 is 10, which means only 10% of your investments should be in slightly riskier investments and 90% in very, very low risk investments like TIPS, which are Treasury inflation protected securities. So I would mix it up. I wouldn't just do all index funds. Don't own mutual funds because they're a scam and the fee structure sucks. But I would mix it up a bit. Yeah. Good for you for starting that early. Melody wrote, I love the video promo you made, Chris. Thank you. I hope I can make something like this once I complete the class. Yes, absolutely. And you can even take my, I think you have access. I'm not sure. My course called Video Production Masterclass that I made with Steve Washer, who's an expert videographer. It's 27 hours, and we unbox 100 products and teach you everything about making videos from scratch. Yeah, and I've made a lot of mistakes. Like, look at my earlier vlogs, or look at my first webcast compared to now. Even now, it's not perfect. I still make mistakes. That's a little bit overexposed there and there. It's bugging me, but you'll never be perfect. You'll never be perfect. Yeah. And that's the thing about vlogging or making courses. Just be comfortable with imperfection. Otherwise, if you got to make it perfect, you'll never get anything out there. Yeah. And Himanshu's writing, I think it's like a measurement of uncertainty cal thing. Maybe assumptive for startups and practical for running a business. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but please let me know. I'm the old man here, so I probably had a senior moment there. And Kunan's saying, sir, one of your hedge fund and venture capital firms is still working. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Sir, are your hedge fund and VC firm is still working? If yes, we'll be blessed and happy to work for you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. No, I actually don't. I think I hold like maybe one venture capital investment. I sold all my venture capital investments, all of them, including Palantir, everything. I'm out, and I'm all in on teaching. I don't care if I never make a penny from this. This is just fun for me. Yeah. Thank you for the offer. And I will be hiring students at some point. Absolutely. As it's getting tough for just a couple of us doing all this. It's hard, man. There's 3 of us doing all the Udemy stuff and all the MBA stuff. It's crazy. And I've supplemented it a lot with technology. Like I believe in small groups of people can always change the world. Always, always, always. And so I have the best technology you can find here and the best employees, right? So I have to nerd out and show you guys this because I'm such a nerd. Hold on. And I'm recording 500 hours this year of 4K lessons. This is not a lesson. This is just Q&A here. But if we go here, I got to show you the RAM I have here. Okay, first of all, this is 28 cores, okay? 28 core processor. And then I've got here 1.5 terabytes of RAM installed. Dude, it's nutty. It's nutty. And I've also got, like we're set to grow. So I just recorded a lesson and I've got a bunch of different cards here. Yeah, so this is just how it works behind the scenes. So this here is something I recorded last night. And this here is actually, this is before I got started. That's me in the middle. That's me getting dressed. Don't worry, there's nothing to be seen there. And this is something I did with Dylan, my son, on building a computer. But that's behind the scenes. And I've got multiple camera angles here. I got nothing to hide, man. I'm an open book for the rest of the world. This one here is the A camera, what I recorded yesterday. Okay, and we're a bit overexposed, so you can see it's too bright here. We're going to take care of that in post-production. But that's a piece of the Berlin Wall, which I have right there, which I got from Checkpoint Charlie. And you can see there, I might be covering it up with my face here in the lower third, in the corner. But there's the cryptocurrency machine that's on, which is at my son's school right now, because it's show and tell day. And I'm going to spend all day with him at school tomorrow. And I will bring in the power cord for this. He doesn't have the power cord for it to show him. And this here is just my son, Andrew, the Pinewood Derby. Yeah, I got to show you guys. Hold on 1 second. This is out there, but I don't care. I got to do it. Where did I leave it? I think I might have taken it upstairs. Hold on. Oh, no, there it is there. I want to show you this. All right. By the time your child is 12 years old, you already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. And you can't get that time back. And I remember years ago, I think it was with Matthew, my middle child, I missed Daddy Matthew Day at school, breakfast with Daddy. And it was because I probably had a meeting that was so important at the time. But you know what, dude? I have no freaking idea what meeting that was. That's how important it was. But don't miss that. Don't miss those days. And so in the United States, there's something called the Pinewood Derby. And what happens is this. You make a car. It has to be a certain weight. And you try to win. It goes on a racetrack. And you're also judged based on how it looks, which is why we have all this cool Star Wars stuff here. It's kind of fun. And so what I did was this. I signed, like Matt Damon said in that Mars movie, I scienced the beep out of it. So what we did was I bought special weights, which were aerodynamics. And I'm really competitive with my students and my kids as well. I'd rather all of you win than I win. I just want to selflessly help if I can somehow. And so we measured it so that when I put my finger here, the weight is perfect. Like we scienced the crap out of it. And then what happened was when I showed up to the race with Andrew that day at his school here, when we used to live in Burlingame, what I did was you have to weigh it. It's like a heavyweight matching or boxing match. And I brought a couple of nickels and pennies in case it was underweight. It was slightly underweight and I want to maximize the weight. So what I did was I glued this on with crazy glue. And what I did actually is I pulled one of these wheels up slightly. It's hard for you to see. Actually, it's this one here. It's slightly, I'll put it against a gray backdrop up there. It's slightly bent up, one of the wheels, because there's less friction. So only 3 of them would hit. And I want to share with you the video actually. So I'll show you here, just behind the scenes. I'll add the video. I'll put it up here. Let me go get it. I want to show you. I took a video of Andrew. He's so cute. Of what happened. So I think I put it in here. Assets. Here it is. Here. Yeah. Okay. So here it is here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale the fit here. And then I'm going to put myself on mute so you guys can watch this. Hold on one second.
2, 1, pull.
Dad, we won! Yes, we won,
All right. So that was a really special moment. And again, by the time your child is 12 years old, you've already spent 90% of the time you'll ever spend with them. You can never take enough pictures or videos either of your kids. Yeah. So anyway, and I'm going to leave this for the rest of today up here. Yeah, right here. Here we go. All right. And I'm going to spend all day tomorrow at Dylan's school, my youngest son, because we built that computer, which you saw in the images there a minute or two ago. So anyway, it's fun. Let me show you that too, actually, if I can. See if I can find just images of how we made that. So I think I downloaded it. Let's go here. Dylan, 1 second. Hold on 1 second. So I'll search for the word Dylan, and I'll show you how we made that computer. Here it is, Dylan presentation slides. Yeah. So this will open up in a second in PowerPoint. Where's PowerPoint? Here it is here. Yeah. All right. And this is how I teach my classes too with slides like this. So here's how I made a computer. I'll show you. How to build a computer in 18 steps. This is my son Dylan's project for school. So what we did here, I'm going to use my foot pedals to go through the slides, if it works here. So step 1 out of 18 is you go to a website called pcpartpicker.com and you select the computer parts. And PC Part Picker will tell you if the parts work together. Then step 2 is you order all the parts, and including a fire extinguisher, which you can see there on the left side. And you get it from Amazon. And Amazon has great prices, but there are other websites like newegg.com which have better prices. So anyway, that's what we did. Step 3 is you build the frame. And of course, none of this was plugged in electricity wise. You build it, and these are the notes, by the way, that Dylan is going to read for the science fair at his. I gave him an 18-page book with all these notes here. You build a frame and you make sure that you don't have your foot on a carpet because it can create an electric shock, which won't hurt you, but it'll kind of fry the motherboard. Okay, so that's the frame. Then you screw in the motherboard. Okay, and the motherboard is kind of like the skeleton that holds everything together in a computer. And the reason we have an open concept like that, we don't have a plastic shell, is because it stays colder this way, and also it's for mining cryptocurrencies. Yeah. All right. Next up, we put the processor on the motherboard, and the processor is just the brain of the computer. like the Intel processor or AMD. And we used AMD because it was cheaper. Next up, you put RAM on the motherboard. You can see here, Dylan is installing it here, and there's 4 little rectangles. That's 4 megs of RAM. And we don't need very much because it's just doing one thing. We only want 1 or 2 programs to be open at the same time. That's what RAM does. Then you connect the hard drive, and we chose a solid state drive that costs $20. It's amazing how the price is coming down. And there's a McKinsey study that was done in the late 90s, which stipulates that the average price of all components in a computer or a mobile phone actually drop in price by 0.6% every week. That holds true for every component except for the motherboard, which I have up there because cryptocurrency miners love it, and video gamers love love graphics cards, I should say, too, which is keeping the price stable. Then we put the graphics card, which I just talked about here, right on the frame. And some people call this the GPU. And it's massive because there are fans on the other side to keep it cool. All right, step 9, halfway there. We then put the power supply on the frame, and the power supply, make sure you buy it from a really reputable company. Okay, don't buy cheap ones. Go all out because you don't want to start a fire. Yeah. Next up, you put the start button cable on the motherboard. A lot of people don't realize that, but you have to actually buy a little cable to start the computer. Then you plug all the cables into the motherboard and power supply. And of course, there's no electricity in this, otherwise, because it's my son Dylan. He's like a son to me. I love him. Just kidding. You plug in all the cables, and to power everything on the motherboard and all the individual components, it has to attach to this power supply here. Okay, then you get the cheapest keyboard you can find, attach it. Then you get the cheapest mouse you can find, attach it. And then what you do is you install Windows. And you buy I bought the USB version of Windows, and you attach it here, see it there, onto the motherboard. And then when you turn it on, it'll automatically install Windows and recognize all the components as well. Then you plug in the monitor to the graphics card's HDMI slot. Now the graphics card has an HDMI port, and so does the motherboard. Always plug it in the graphics card so it'll look better. And that's just a little monitor there. Okay. Then you plug in the Ethernet cable into the motherboard. You can get Wi-Fi if you want. That's $20 more expensive. We're trying to create this on the cheap. And what Ethernet will do is obviously give you internet access, but also will allow you to download drivers if you need to when you're installing Windows, so it can recognize all the components there. Then next up, you plug in the power cable to the power box from the wall. Dylan's got this computer at school today for show and tell, and it's a 2-day thing. I'm going to go all day tomorrow with him. But I did not give him the power cable at school. And then you push that button, and it turns on. It turns on. That's it. And you're done. So anyway, that's how you build a computer in 18 steps. All right, let's go back here to Wirecast. Go full screen. Here we go. Good. And in another 11 minutes or so, I got to wrap up the call. I'm so sorry. So for those of you in my MBA degree program, you can ask me questions during MBA office hours later on today. And then for those of you who have one-on-ones in the MBA degree program, I'm looking forward to talking with you all today, one-on-one. All right. Let me go down here. And Himanshu wrote, I hate the GMAT. And it never makes sense to me. It's tricky, dodgy, and it's a waste of time. On the other hand, the CFA study courses are far better and interesting. That's my personal view. I agree with you completely. And by the way, so I suck at tests. I'm not the smartest guy. I'm way below average, actually. But I work really, really hard. And so when I was younger, they actually diagnosed me with a learning disability. They thought in the 6th grade and the 8th grade, and they wanted to fail me, and they sent me to this learning disability center in Oakville, Ontario, on Lakeshore Road called Chisholm. And they were wrong. And it makes me so mad. The school I went to, and I'll never mention the school that I went to, and they always ask me to come back and give keynote speeches or graduation. I'll never do it. Because I think the role of a teacher is to build confidence in students. But they were wrong. But there's always, the glass is half full with me, and there's always a positive to it. The positive is that I work harder than everybody. So when I was writing the GMAT, I realized that I can get a lot of questions right without reading the questions. Here's how. So, and this will help all of you in every test you take for the rest of your life. You're going to love me for this. So if it's a multiple choice question, and you see the word always or never in the answers, eliminate them. Those are wrong. Why? Because when you write tests, you have to think like a lawyer. For example, the question might say, what color is this microphone? And the answers could be, it's always black. I don't know. If you look closely at it, it might be I'm a lawyer now. It might be a different shade of gray. So the word always is wrong. Or an answer might be, it's never gray, right? Like, well, it looks black, but it might be gray. So always, never are wrong. So the answers that are right are usually the wishy-washy ones. Like, sometimes microphones can be gray. Of course, you can find an exception. That's right. So answers to have sometimes or often, in many cases, those are right. The words, the ones that have the words never and always are always wrong. Always wrong. And that will help you a lot when you take tests. And you might even not have to read the question in some of them and just look at the answers. I promise you this will help you tremendously. Think like a lawyer and think about exceptions, and you'll do exceptionally well in your next test and the GMAT. Next one is, by being a long-term investor, how much time are you referring to? So I love to think 5, 10, 15 years out always. And Warren Buffett, when he buys a stock, he's been quoted as saying, I assume when I buy a stock, the market's going to be closed for 10 years. So you become a stockholder. And obviously the market's not going to be closed for 10 years, but that's just his mentality, long-term focused. Let everybody else panic. You know, buy broken stocks. Don't buy broken companies. When everyone's freaking out and there's a company you love, back up the truck and buy it. And you know what? It's going to feel kind of bad to do it. And you're like, oh, I feel nervous. That's the feeling you should have. It's kind of like when you're buying a house. You know, you kind of push yourself to buy more house without overdoing it. And it feels uncomfortable. If it doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're not buying enough house. Yeah. All right, next up, what is the difference between your complete financial analyst course and the personal finance course? Yeah, so a complete financial analyst teaches you, how to be an analyst working on Wall Street, working in investment banking, trading, whatever, all this stuff. A ton of different financial analyst roles. Personal finance one will just help you to save more, make more, and protect your money. It's different, yeah. And for the personal finance course, we did the trailer. We rented a casino one morning in Prague. It was cheaper doing it in the morning. And I didn't like the way I look kind of arrogant in it, which is not me. But anyway, it's done okay. All right. And Arthur is saying, how long typically does it take for a financial analyst to value a company? You know, how many they typically do in a day? Yeah, so it takes a couple days at least to create a financial model. And you have to go to sec.gov or bamsec.gov, which is amazing. I'll show you guys BAMSEC. It's this cool thing. It's all the rage on Wall Street now. So you can go to sec.gov if you want to download financials, or you can go to BAMSEC and you can get the first month free, or you can do a trial or pay for it. I pay for it. And so, for example, let's see. Let's type in Apple. And what you can do is you can go to the quarterly report here for Q2 for Apple. And then what you can do is scroll down, and when you find financial statements here, what you can do is you can actually download this instead of having to manually type all this stuff in. And I click there, and it gets downloaded into an Excel file, which will open in a second. Here it is there. And there it is, that entire table, right? And that's text. That's not actually real commas or that's numbers. That's actually not text with commas. This is the real deal. And then the source here is the 8K. So it's here, but it's actually not the 8K, the 10Q. It's the real source is actually on SEC, okay, Securities and Exchange Commission right here. So this is what it would look like. Now, if you access it here on sec.gov, all the financial statements and everything, you can't download this into a table like you can with bamsec.com, BAMSEC.com. You can click here to learn more about each one of these items, although that will probably confuse you. It confuses me at least. But yeah, BAMSEC is definitely worth looking at if you can. And then I have my own model proprietary format that I use for my models I've developed over the years at my companies I've owned. And that's how I value. I value based on usually 3 methodologies, which include, I'll just tell you 2 of them: price to revenue and price to earnings. Yeah. And it takes me a couple days. And then once I think it's perfect, what I do is I sleep on it. And I don't transact until I sleep on it. And I look at the model the next day. And if I feel good about it after a good night's sleep, then I'll transact. You buy a stock. And I got that from my dad. My dad said, it's old school, but he said, Chris, if you ever write a letter to somebody and you're slightly negative in that letter, don't mail it. Put it in your drawer, go to bed, wake up the next day, open the drawer, read the letter, and if you still feel the same way, then mail it. Yeah. All right, next one is, how often do they update, meaning analyst evaluation spreadsheet for the company? Quarterly, yes. Once new earnings become available, what they'll do is they'll download the 8K, which is the press release for earnings, and they'll update their model. You're right. Or if something happens, like a material event, like say that, I don't know, there's a massive lawsuit, or if the company announces we're going to do a massive dividend or whatever it is, you might do that. But quarterly is good enough. Yeah, but be long-term focused. And sometimes I model quarterly, but I like doing annually now because it makes me more long-term focused. Because quarterly you can get lost in minutia, and seasonality can drive you crazy as well. And, yeah. Yeah, next one is, do you have or keep a calendar when you mark when companies are scheduled to have earnings or annual reports so you stay on track? Yeah. So companies don't tell you. Like sometimes they'll release it a couple months ahead of time or a couple of weeks. But usually what happens is when a company feels like they're going to make their quarterly earnings relative to what they guided, then they issue a press release saying, we're going to release earnings on this date. Now, if they haven't released that press release, then what happens is if they're a little bit late with the press release, it might be because they're going to miss the quarter, in which case they'll pre-announce negative results. And the best way to keep track in real time is you can actually sign up to get alerts. So just go to Google Alerts. I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah. So you go here and just type in Google Alerts. Okay. And I have it set up as well myself. I have custom alerts. So, you know, I'm actually in incognito mode. So let me close this and I'll actually show you my real alerts. So let's go here to Google Alerts. Here we go. You can set them up here. So for example, for me, these are just things I monitor the second something happens. Like for example, with this, if somebody's pirating it, I get lawyers involved, cease and desist. And I have it set up so I get it the second there's something like this on the internet, or I can find out what newspapers are advertising my courses. Right now, there's I think the New York Post just did one, or CNN or something like that. But I like to monitor all my stuff. But you can do this for tickers as well, and company names, and find out immediately. And what you can also do is you can go to investor relations website of the company you're doing research on. And what they can do is you can sign up to get automatic alerts daily or the second it happens whenever they release a document. Yeah. All right. Next up is Arthur is saying, what's your opinion about day trading, momentum trading? Please don't do it. And I talked about it earlier in this call, but what happens is if you do it, then you're going to become what's called fooled by randomness, which is the title of a great book by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He also wrote Black Swan. You'll be fooled by randomness. Don't do it. And the reason why you shouldn't do it is because you and I cannot name any successful trader because they don't exist. They don't exist. Maybe they were lucky one time, but yeah, it's not a good strategy longer term. I promise you. Okay, next up is, how do you get stock trading valuing ideas? Do you use any scanners? Do you become really good in one industry, or do you value companies in different types? So I look at all industries. I try the product, and I've got an 8-step valuation methodology and research methodology, which I teach to my MBA degree students. Yeah, so it's much more than that. That's my alarm. I'm gonna have to wrap this up, guys. I'm so sorry. And if you guys are in my MBA degree program, Then for MBA students, only office hours starts at 11:15 a.m. today. And I'm so sorry. It looks like there's a lot more questions. So I won't be able to get to them or read them. But please just copy your questions. And if you're my MBA degree student, one of my students, just paste it again in the MBA webcast today. Or what you can do is just copy them. And then next week, what we can do is just paste them again here. And I'll humbly try to answer your questions the best I can. So for those of you that have subscribed to my vlog, I vlog every day. I will see you tomorrow on my vlog. Otherwise, God bless you all and have a great weekend. And I'll see you next week at the same time as always. Thank you.